pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When was he hurt?
Yesterday.
Yesterday? Real bad?
Fairly bad. His wife is headed to Germany.
Another one from McAllen
One from McAllen, one from Brownsville also.
and one from Brownsville.
In the same accident.
In the same accident? All right. Anybody sign up for public comments? All right. Presentation on status of solid waste collection and disposal system project. Who's going to make that? We've got 2 items, 7 and 8, on that issue, and we're going to reserve discussion on those 2 after executive session. But I'm assuming we have a presentation to make on that.
Good morning, Commissioners, Judge and Commissioners. You have to forgive me this morning because I've been putting in a lot of hours and I'm a little bit, how can I say it, when you've...
Lack of sleep.
When you're like, what do you call it, an overload? More of an overload.
Can somebody get the light back there? Go ahead.
Okay. Cameron County is pleased to announce residential solid waste collection services to county residents. Beginning August 1st, 2005, the county residents located in the unincorporated areas of the county will be receiving weekly residential solid waste and monthly brush bulky waste collection services. The Texas counties were granted the authority through Senate Bill 352 to provide mandatory solid waste collection services in the unincorporated areas of the county. This direction was needed and implemented to reduce illegal dumping and improve the health and safety of Texas counties. Cameron County has formed partnerships with Red River Service Corporation and about 7 water supply corporations in 3 cities, the city of La Feria, the city of Brownsville PUB, and Harlingen Water Works, to provide us with their billing capacity. These partnerships have been very, very cooperative. We have been working together in drawing up agreements, in coordinating billing procedures. They all have been great in helping me out with this entire project. I'd like to present to you real quickly, just a little bit and briefly, the August 1st, 2005 is the start date for service. The new service is an effort to provide the rural residents of the county with residential solid waste collection. As I mentioned to you, the partnerships have been developed. And one of the things I'd like to emphasize is that working together is very important. We're asking county residents to participate in this effort if this is going to be a successful project. We need everyone participating. It's very, very important. The timelines that we have to deal with in the next few months is June 30th is finalizing the agreements with the water supply corporations. Delby and I have been meeting with each and every one of the managers, and they all have been very, very cooperative. There are some issues that need to be resolved, but pretty much we're ready to go. June the 10th through July the 24th, all the equipment is in. So there's 16,000 containers, which we were going to drag one of the containers that we placed in the judge's office one time so he could see. These are the 96-gallon containers. 16,000 have already been delivered and are stored, right, David?
Yes, they're stored in San Benito.
They're stored in San Benito, and we're coordinating that process so that they can be then assigned to each one of the households as we work with the addresses from the water supply corporations. June 22nd is meeting with the Water Supply Corporation so that we can do an overview of the service and billing procedures and finalize any questions and answers in preparation for August the 1st and their following month of the billing. June 28th is to review staffing needs and organizational structure to handle the solid waste management of this project. And that's the deliverable would be either the division that we had previously discussed, or the creation of a department. The weekly residential solid waste collection service. Go to this. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there. We're on the, go to the next slide.
Timeline.
Yeah.
This page?
Go on. No. There you go. The weekly residential solid waste collection, again, is Red River Service Corporation, and these are their trucks. Do you want to explain a little bit of that particular?
Judge, Commissioners, as you guys know, through the RFP process and through the presentation we give to the evaluation committee, Red River had chose a methodology and a way to pick up the garbage. And what we've provided here in this picture, this is an actual piece of equipment that will be delivered here within the next coming days. It's a rear loading truck with a low cab entry truck. The benefit, we have mentioned to you guys for the proposal, this truck is a low cab entry truck. It's a right-hand drive, so when the guys are out on the routes and the streets of the county, the driver will actually be curbside. He won't be getting on the left side of the truck into traffic. So we felt this would be a much safer way to do this. It also will help us with reduce our workman's comp liabilities because the driver, it's a low cab, so it's not climbing out of a big truck. I think we have some other photos throughout this presentation.
Yeah,
different,
just go ahead and. Okay, these are the dates of equipment to be delivered. June 16th to the 26th, 3 solid waste trucks are expected to be delivered. July the 10th to the 17th, 2 solid waste trucks. And July 21st, 2 satellite solid waste trucks. So the total number of equipment is 14 trucks. We hope to get by the end of the month of July. This is the equipment that has been delivered already, and that's 2 out of 3 brush trucks, 4 solid waste trucks, 1 service truck, 1 supervisor's truck, the 16,000 containers that I mentioned to you, and 4,000 containers are still pending delivery. There will be a total of 20,000 containers.
And when do you expect those 4,000 to be delivered?
They're coming in every day. We've had truckloads coming in every day. So there's about 495 containers in a truckload. They're coming in every day from Arizona. So I think Chris said they're coming in today or the next few days. So
4 loads today, which is about 2,000.
So containers are almost way ahead of schedule.
Before I get into the schedule area map, I did want to mention that we are preparing informational materials for the residents. The preparation of these materials, you have a little bit, a draft that I've handed to you in the form of questions and answers, but it will be developed into an 8-page English and Spanish tabloid. It would be distributed by Bargain Book through their distribution areas, through the precincts, the water supply offices, Red River offices, and wherever else we can make those available. It's going to be more like everything you wanted to know about solid waste, all the questions that you might think of. Hopefully we have been able to address. They will be in the local newspapers. We're preparing also some media with public service announcements, and I hope, and I haven't done this yet, but I will, coordinate with Time Warner Cable to see if we can get some PSAs if possible, to help us more into the environmental part of cleaning up, and maybe we can begin an educational program if they cooperate with me on that.
You should consider not only Time Warner, but probably Channel 4 and Channel 5 and 23, because they're usually fairly generous with the PSAs.
I certainly will.
And also 48.
And 48.
Absolutely.
Spanish stations are going to be real important.
Absolutely, and I always include them, but
Yeah.
Time Warner is one of those that you have to really work hard with. But absolutely, I will contact those television stations.
Most of us out in the country don't have cable.
Okay.
So that's one when you get out of the municipalities, cable service is not available in the majority of the places.
That's very true.
So,
Okay, very good.
Can I ask a question, Gracie?
Yes.
On the 96-gallon container, is that more or less the same size as the one BFI has on the
I
city of
have one,
Brownsville?
we'll bring it in.
I'm just curious how big 96
We-
is.
We'll wheel it
Same
right now and
exact
show it
size
to
as
you.
what you get in Brownsville. It's the same
Same
exact
size?
thing. Except it's prettier.
Okay.
it's not
You'll see it
maroon,
in
is
just a
it?
second.
It's not maroon, is
No,
it?
we want to stand alone, we didn't want any. But
Okay.
what we did was, there are 96-gallon containers, and what they are, these containers are actually, they're a little wider, they're a little shorter, because down in South Texas, you got a lot of wind. There's some park manufacturers that make a thinner
That's
container,
smart.
and it's much taller.
Yeah.
But as you guys know, going down the county road, some people drive pretty fast, it's windy, they can fall over. So these containers are much wider, and they can withstand 25-mile-an-hour winds.
Okay.
And I will cover that in just a second, but I'd like to go over the weekly residential solid waste collection schedule area map. You see that the area has been divided into 5 zones, and that's 5 work days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There you go. Thank you. Any questions
I
on
want
the
to make sure
schedule
if I
day?
fit in there.
This is when trash will be solid waste will be collected. Solid waste will be collected on a weekly basis, and these are the areas when they will be done. Yes.
And what I might add, Commissioners, is what we've done here, when you design a routing map, what you want to try and do is funnel everything from the farthest point toward the end of the week. And what we know is we have closed on a piece of property that's right across the street from landfill, 38 acres. So what we've done is we funneled this whole route from the northwest part of the county all the way down to the southeast. So as you guys will see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we wanted to funnel everything down. Towards the end of the week, we have every piece of equipment almost on Friday. That way we can make it a short day. And here, basically, it's a pretty even breakout of the number of units. As we all know, it's going to be. It's right now we just don't know the exact number of units, but we've got a pretty close estimate, give or take. Whatever it takes. But we're going to have 20 containers to put them out there. I think we're counting at a little over. Right at 18.
Right now, yeah, about
Right at
18,000.
18. I think there's a lot. That's based on the 911 listing we got. There could be a whole lot more than that. We're prepared to do that.
Next slide. That will give you a total, more or less, of the number of customers per day according to the schedule map. So that total is about close to 18,000.
And the reason the numbers are less from the money down, because we have a farther drive. When you're up at Santa Rosa, San Mateo, your number's going to be, because you have 25, 30 mile drive. So as you guys can see, you've got less customers, but when you funnel down, you have more customers, you have less drive.
What happens on the Monday holidays?
Monday holidays are going to be...
Next slide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have it there.
Yes, because that's something everybody's
Well,
going to...
this is a service charge.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
get to the
no,
holidays
go to
second.
the holidays. Oh, yeah, since you asked the question of holidays. If a holiday falls on a Monday, all collection that week will take place one day after the regularly scheduled collection day. So it's the day after. If a holiday falls on a Tuesday, all collection scheduled for Tuesday through Friday will take place on Wednesday through Saturday.
Would you make sure and include on the backside of one of those pamphlets that you're working on a holiday schedule?
Oh, absolutely.
So that people will know what holidays you will be observing?
Yes, that
I
is
think
in
you're
one of the
including
questions
that.
and answers. It's already included.
What we consider the guards, we call it a holiday slot.
Okay.
And we'll clearly define that in all the publications that go out to public. It's just considered a holiday slot. But we have, I think, 4 major holidays, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July. And,
Thanksgiving?
yes,
Thanksgiving.
those are 4 majors. But
No.
we want to work with most of the other ones because, in the garbage business, if you don't work on holidays, you just got more to pick up.
So you're going to stay with those 4 holidays?
I'm pretty sure that's what we have. Those are the 4 major holidays
Those
we
are
will not.
The brush and bulk collection will not be affected. That would continue as set by the schedule, and we'll show you that schedule in just a second. We did the holidays. So do you want to go back to the monthly service charge?
Yeah.
Okay. The monthly service charge, effective August 1st, is based on the residential service of $16.95 plus the administrative fee on the first month, which will be a total of $23.80 for the first month. The regular monthly charge from there on would be $18.80. Weekly solid waste and monthly brush and bulky waste is included with that charge of $18.80. The first container is at no cost. The container, and this is a container, will be delivered with an informational packet of that same tablet that's going to be distributed, will be put on the doorknob, I think. Is that what you said? Well, somewhere we'll hang it. Additional containers are at $5.08. There are people sometimes that generate more than one 96-gallon container of solid waste, so they can call Red River and request an additional container. If the bill includes late fees, reconnects, and modification, that's because that's the water supply corporations who have their billing procedures where they charge fees for reconnect, as all of us are pretty much aware of.
Hold on.
Late fees and changes in the account.
Before you move on to the next slide, the $685 is a one-time charge then?
685, yes.
Yes,
Why is the
administrative
jump
fee.
from 685?
Five of 685.
Yeah, it's
is
because
one-time
it's
charge.
a $5, the $685 is a $5 setup fee for the
Five
first
is
month
one time.
only.
Plus.
And then plus the dollar service charge for the water supply corporations and our 85 cents
So
administration.
the only thing that doesn't repeat itself is the $585?
Exactly.
$5.
$5.
$5. So 185 gets added on to the 1695, and that's the $1 administrative fee from the water
Water
districts, and an 85 cents for the administrative fee for the county operation.
Absolutely, yes.
You think that might be confusing, the way it's worded?
Well, the way it's worded there, it is. We just need to make that clear. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I didn't figure that out real good. A lot
Okay,
of people are not.
I think in our questions and answer, we don't.
Yeah, they deal with that.
It's clear, yeah.
Okay, the only other issue I have there is, I know that our agreement is that as you pick up more contracts out there, our fees are going down, as I understand. And as I understand, you all have picked up Port Isabel and Santa Rosa. How does that affect our fees yet?
Well, we're still in the process of negotiating that. Last
Okay.
night at Santa Rosa, the agreement was there, and they tabled the agreement. They're going to approve that Monday night at 6. Port Isabel, we've not even begun negotiations. They still have 7 months before that contract starts. So
Oh, okay.
I guess how we envision it, after the first month, after we get the contract signed, the first month's billing, then those discounts will start being applied to the county.
So you have to finish the negotiations
Yes, yeah,
before.
on both of those projects.
What's the population, how many pickups are you gonna make in Port Isabel, approximately?
Montgomery's 1,100.
And Santa Rosa?
That's about 800.
So you're already looking at 2,000 almost new accounts that are added to this.
Definitely, there are numerous other, Rio Hondo and Combs are 2 other cities that expire in October. So we're definitely got those on the tracking list. We're definitely going to make a run at those and do all we can. There's some other cities in the valley that are also going out, some in Hidalgo and whatnot. So we're tracking numerous of those.
So that's gonna make a big change, right?
It's going to be a huge savings to the county.
Yeah.
The county's been very supportive of Red River.
Yes.
We've done a lot of things to go out and market ourselves and let the communities know what the county's done for us and where we are. I think it's really helped us get the word out, and these communities are really looking at Red River and they're giving us an opportunity. So we really appreciate that.
Okay. So you're going to include the potential customers in Hidalgo as a reduction for?
That's pretty certified.
No, you have to say.
We might as
They'll
well
get what
add,
you make a
we
note
might
of
as
that.
well add Willacy.
Go ahead, Grace.
Okay, solid waste container, 96-gallon container. Each household will receive one of these cards. All solid waste must be bagged and placed in the cart, and the cart must be placed within 5 feet from the mailbox by 6:30 in the morning for, on that service day, your solid waste will be collected.
And what we've also done, guys, is we have taken the liberty to put an in-molded label in all these lids. And this is not a sticker, it's not stuck on so you cannot take it off. It's actually molded in the resin of this container. It's in English and in Spanish. It tells you, the customer, basically
Wow.
what we're asking of them. It clearly defines it. It puts all the phone numbers. It gives a number for illegal dumping, our website, our toll-free phone number, and we provided everything. So what's good about this is that we're going to give an insert through the media and the television stations, but they possibly going to lose that, they might forget that.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's
it's
never going to
there.
go away. It's always going to be there.
David, let me ask you this one question. I know we've been through this, but if a person has a party in the weekend and they're full and they got extra bags that won't fit in there, you put them on the side, will you pick up those?
We're going to do what we can. I know we talked about
Yeah.
that. It's one thing that's a problem sometimes. If it's not something that's a consistent, ongoing thing, we're not going to have any problem.
Okay.
If it
And-
comes to be where it's every week, that tends to affect production and tends to cost us a whole lot.
And the $5.08 for an additional container, that's an every month charge, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But also in regards to that, Red River's also going to have the ability to have much larger containers for some residents that produce more trash. So we're going to be able to help everyone, because some people are going to produce more than 2 carts. So we're going to have the ability to do that as well.
Pete, I think we'd be asking for problems if we went ahead and allowed that they put bags outside. I don't know about that. That's something to think about.
that what Red River's position was initially was, if something happens where, a trash container, is overflowing and something falls out or things like that, they're not gonna just leave it on the ground, they'll pick it up. But, if people are consistently, or even not
Yeah.
consistently, putting a lot of trash out and putting it back on the side, that's a different story,
Yeah.
Exactly, because what we're going to have is our drivers going to be assigned specific routes. More often than not, that's going to be a pretty consistent route. So they're going to know and they're going to understand if one particular house is consistently doing things. Because what we want to do is we want it to be containerized.
So they're supposed to report it back to you or what?
Yeah, well, we're going to have route supervisors out, so the driver, we're going to all be on Nextel 2-way radio. So once there's an issue, the drivers are going to call back to our dispatch, and we're going to be able to handle that. We're also going to have GPS units on all our trucks, so we're going to be able to track our units in 5 minutes real time. So if someone calls into our office and they say, well, you didn't pick up our trash, we go right on the GPS, and I can tell you how fast our truck drove, I can tell you what time it drove past the GPS mark of our house. So it's just
Great.
a way for us to identify if our drivers actually drove by those houses.
One of the inherent issues with more garbage than fits in the container is particular holidays. Certainly Christmas and things like that, where there's a lot of packaging and boxing and things, and other holidays where families get together. And I'm sure that y'all will be able to work that out eventually through a program.
Definitely, 'cause we
getting the
understand.
customers used to it. Yeah.
Our whole deal on the holidays is, as you know as well as any garbage contract, it's on the ground, like pick it up, because the more you pick it up, the less phone calls you're going to get.
Okay, go ahead, Grace, because we're running
Okay.
out.
Do this. There's the
This is
example of
great.
the monthly brush truck, and what it'd be picked up once a month, up to not to exceed 5 cubic yards. If you do have more brush to pick up, then special arrangements have to be made with Red River. On the bulky items, county residents would need to contact Red Rivers to schedule an appointment to remove the Freon from the refrigerator. That would be at no cost. And then they will pick up that bulky item once a month.
If it fits in the...
No, it doesn't need to
outside,
fit
that's
there.
outside,
Yeah.
once a month.
Now,
That's right.
hazardous waste materials or batteries, construction materials will not be collected. That is not part of the bulky waste collection. Okay, the map, this is the days of the week where the bulky waste will be collected, and that's, you've got week 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if you can see that, it's a little small.
There's four
Yeah.
collection zones on a brush bulk
Zones.
pickup. It's the first full week of the month. So every resident within this shaded area will have their brush picked up consistently every month, the first week of the month, second full week of the month, third full week of the month, and fourth full week.
So there are 4 zones. 4
Yes.
So solid waste, the bulky materials have to be called in.
No.
No,
the
just if you have a refrigerator.
Just the
for
refrigerators.
Freon.
Okay. Okay.
Everything else is to be month.
Okay, so that doesn't have to be, we'll have the schedule on that.
You betcha.
Next. The billing will be done through the water supply corporations, as I've mentioned. There's the list of all the ones that so far have been cooperating. And any questions or problems that have to do with the billing only, customers are to contact their water supply provider. For anything that has to do with the service, like no one showed up to pick up the solid waste, or anything that has to do with the service, they are to contact Red River Service. Not for the billing part that you get on your bill, your charges, all that, your water supply provider would be contacted. We hope to also give as much information as possible so that to minimize some of the calls that we might get. That's not to avoid that people are still going to complain or not like the service or what have you, but we're ready to deal with that. Again, that's just reiterating what I said. To contact Red River Customer Service, the address and telephone number is on your screen, and it will be on the tabloid information. The information also will be on our website, Cameron County and Red River website. We are going to also stress the illegal dumping program and coordinate with the sheriff's office, and by also putting on the tabloid the fines if people are caught dumping trash wherever they're not supposed to. Go ahead. That's just a continuation. And who to contact: the DA's office, County Sheriff's Office, the TEC investigation section, or the TECQ hotline. We'll also, I don't know what happened there. The recycling guide will let people know more or less where they can take materials to recycle. And I think together we can keep Cameron County clean, but we need to cooperate.
Okay, thank you. Can
Thanks.
somebody get the lights for us? And again, this is going to start on August 1. Cameron County will be, I think, the second county only in the state of Texas that will have a rural trash collection program.
Who's the first one?
I think Nueces
County.
But remember that Nueces County is a county city, basically, because it's really almost all of Corpus Christi makes up all of Nueces County. If you combine Corpus Christi, Robstown, and what's the name of that other small city?
Driscoll and
Very little rural.
There's very, very rural area. We will be obviously the largest rural, well, there's only two. Ours is a real rural trash collection program.
Just one more question. Have they ever tried to do this in the past here in Cameron County?
Not that I'm
The first time, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
People are anxious. People are
They
real
are, I
anxious. They've been calling.
All right, do I hear a motion to acknowledge the presentation by Commissioner?
second.
Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let me move to item number 20 quickly. It's a consent item, but Dr. Gonzalez is here today. 20, consideration authorization to renew Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services Health Authority appointment of Dr. Victor Gonzalez. We have Dr. Gonzalez here. Yvette, do you want to just say a couple of words?
I move we approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Wood. Any further discussion? I just want to say, we think you're doing a great job, Dr. Gonzalez. You've been very proactive, been there, especially on all our emergencies. I know, talking to Yvette, that you and her are in consultation on an ongoing basis, and I know that when they hear you talk on behalf of the county, when we have a health issue coming up, people feel very relieved and very confident that things are being done the way they need to be done, and everything possible to protect the public is also being undertaken by the Department of Health and Human Services and your office. So thank you for your service during these last, I don't know, you've been in there about 4 years at least. Six. Yes, come on up, Doctor.
Doctor, I'd like to also commend you for taking your personal time to keep us personally informed on issues and how they advance. I know
Thank you all very
call
much.
us regularly.
And I just wanted to come before you also just to thank you all for the trust and bestowed on our services, and we are trying very hard and we're being very interested in the overall health and safety of the residents of Cameron County, and that's why I'm here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. That's 1 and 2. I'm going to jump over in just a second to the item on the article, but I want to just make our presentation on the trip to Washington, D.C. on June the 6th, on June the 7th through the 8th, because there was an article in the paper on this, and we want to make sure people know what we did on this trip. It was Commissioner Wood and myself, and Commissioner Wood and David Garcia and myself that went to D.C. We left at on a 5:45 flight in the morning on a Tuesday morning, arrived in D.C. that afternoon, had meetings with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers initially to meet with the new director of the division that's in charge of the projects such as the straightening out of the intercoastal waterway.
Would you emphasize this a new director?
Yeah, that's
we
what
were
I said.
the first ones that had ever met with him.
His was the first. We were the first meeting that this new director had. Period. And his office is in charge of projects like the intercoastal waterway straightening out project that we have submitted funding for. Which, by the way, the reason we went on that particular date was because the following week, which was this week, the different committees in the House and the Senate that are in charge of approving appropriations on funding of these projects, we're going to be doing markup. In other words, this week is the week that basically the semi-final decisions for what projects are going to be funded by Congress were going to be made. And so it was critical that we go the week before at least so that we could make sure that we gave our final push on a number of projects that we are very interested in Cameron County that will make a big difference to the quality of life issues that we've been involved in, one of which is the straightening of the intercoastal canal to avoid another causeway collapse that we had. We are requesting an additional $1 million on that project to complete the engineering studies, which is the last phase of the study process, after which we will be able to be ready for construction. The administration did not submit a budget for this project, and so what we've gotten is we got the Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson to submit a request for funding on that project, as well as on the House side, State Representative, U.S. Congressman Solomon Ortiz, and then we've also gotten help from the Congressman Chet Edwards and Congressman Culberson, who are both on the Appropriations Committee, not from our district, but friends and who have been helping us in the past. It was critical for us to be there because that needs to go into the appropriations on the House side for us to get funded. Otherwise, on all these projects, we have to wait a year before we get considered again for appropriations. We also had submitted a late request for funding on the restoration of the Bahia Grande. As you know, we've only had funding for a pilot project, which if you drive by on Highway 48, you can see that it's almost completed. It's a pilot project that's probably no more than maybe 30 feet wide, 50 feet wide at the widest, which will give us a pilot project to flood the Bahia, which, by the way, I've been informed will be delayed about 25 days because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife found a couple of birding nests of an endangered bird out there, and so they want to wait for the little birds to hatch before we flood it. So we need to hold off on that for 25
And you'll
days.
have to wait until they fly away.
Well,
You don't want to
they
mess
didn't-
up a mother's
I think,
nest.
I think the 25 days includes the hatching of the eggs and then them flying away, I think, but I'm not sure. That's what they told us. We were scheduled to open it up on the 28th of June. That's going to be delayed to the end of July, not because we're not finished, but simply because of those two nests that they found in the general area where the flooding is going to occur. We did submit a request. It was a late request because of the fact that this just recently came up. for funding for a permanent channel, which is going to cost anywhere between $800,000 to $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million. Ironically, even though this was a late request, this is the request of all our projects that got the most interest from every congressman, every state agency every state senator's staff that we met with, because they are just really, really, really interested on the restoration of these 10,000 acres of formerly wetlands, which will now become wetlands. And this is a project that's drawing national attention today. We met also, obviously, with members of Congress to get funding authorizations for the West Rail Plan and the North Rail Plan, both of which are being strongly supported by our two congressmen that are in Cameron County, Congressman Ortiz and Congressman Hinojosa, both of which have submitted funding requests for this in the new transportation bill. Senator Hutchinson is also working with us, along with Senator Cornyn, and we met with their staff. We met with the senator's staffs and with the actual congressmen on these two issues. And they both told us that they are pushing it very hard, and they understand that it's a high priority. And we emphasize that of all our projects, our railroad relocation projects are our number one projects. We also have an application for funding for a regional public safety data system. We've requested funding, I think, of $6 million on that. That will piggyback on our interoperability communication system that we recently set up in Cameron County, where we basically put everybody on the same frequency to deal with emergencies where you need multiple law enforcement agencies from different state, local, and federal agencies involved, not just on local issues, but on homeland security issues dealing with potential terrorist threats. We also requested funding for a digital flood map program. We got a presentation from our engineering department a few weeks ago about the need for us to redo our flood maps, our flood zone maps in Cameron County. They're ancient, about 20, 25 years old. There's a lot of areas in Cameron County that are no longer flood prone, but they are still listed as flood prone on our maps, and that causes these people who live in those areas that are otherwise not flood prone but are designated as flood prone to pay higher rates of insurance, homeowners insurance, to deal with that issue. Plus, under state and federal law, you cannot fund construction of projects in those flood prone areas through grants and loans from the state and federal government. So we need to remap Cameron County, and I can't remember the total cost on that, but it's a substantial cost that we will incur, and we requested funding on that as well. And we have $500,000 applications for funding for the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Rosa. We received very favorable input from Congressman Hinojosa and Senator Cornyn and Senator Hutchinson's office on that issue. And we also requested $500,000 for a Boys and Girls Club in Los Fresnos. Neither of those two communities have Boys and Girls Clubs. They're desperately needed for our kids in those communities, and will really help deal with a lot of issues in those communities with our kids. And so we presented those two as extremely high priorities as well. On top of that, John made presentations on the U.S. Navy ship recycling contracts, and why don't you explain that and the Weed and Seed program, John?
Yeah, David and I went in and met with the Weed and Seed program, which has been extremely successful in this part of the county for several years now, and touched base with the director of the whole program and then the project director for our particular program, and covered several different areas. I determined from what they would told me that we had a couple little items that probably needed some work done to them, So that's been taken care of, some technical issues since we've gotten back on funding and how we're drawing monies down. Those items now, I think, are pretty well streamlined. We've had some discussions with Auditor's Office and with our budget director on that. Then we also had a meeting with MARAD. That's the company that is in charge of disposing of older merchant vessels and some naval vessels. We have here at the Port of Brownsville, which not a lot of people are aware of, 5 different companies that break ships apart or scrap these old ships. And we're the largest concentration of shipbreakers in the United States. There are only about 4 others in the United States. And these are ships that are sitting in the St. James River or on the coast of California that are old, no longer usable. A lot of them contain hazardous materials like asbestos and PCBs. Our facilities here at the Port of Brownsville have the capability to handle these. The problem we have is some of the way MARAD, this government agency, part of the Department of Transportation, handles distributing these ships out to be scrapped out. And so we talked to the gentleman who is directly in charge of getting these contracts out to different people. We're looking at the possibility of increasing our employment for this type of work at the Port of Brownsville from 440 people to over 1,000 people in the next year if we can just get the federal government to allow us to break these ships, which have to be done anyway.
And by the way, on that, Senator Cornyn's office was very familiar with what was going on that issue and very interested in making sure that we try to see if we can get some of those contracts here, because it's been clear that what's going on in terms of sending these contracts out elsewhere is one, not right and not working.
And the General Accounting Office has done a review of MARAD's operations, and it was not very favorable. So we're trying to help them do what they need to be done to these ships. Congressman Ortiz's office has been very involved in it also. So we got some good response, not only from our elected people in in Washington, but also from the Department of Transportation. After we met with MARAD, David and I also met with the new Assistant Director for the Department of Transportation and discussed the MARAD problem with him. He's going to be looking into it, plus a couple other projects that he brought up. One is the project out at the port that they may be able to institute to create a better environment and to create a faster ability to turn around products and containers and also other materials that come into the port through the shipping industry. Hopefully that will be a pilot project. We offered the ability of the port here to do a pilot project with the Department of Transportation on that. And then we talked about the West Rail relocation and some pilot projects that they might be able to do to assist us in funding the West Rail project based on the issue of the federal government sending money down for safety on rails, and us relocating the rail eliminates a lot of the funding that would be necessary to build overpasses on the rail. And they were very interested in looking further into that. So continuing conversations with the Department of Transportation Assistant Secretary is going to be vital, hopefully, to getting some funding down for those projects.
Judge, I think the reason, and I know I was called on that article, and I don't know if anybody, I think, Pete, you were called, and there is no doubt that those strips are important. I mean, that's when you see people, when you see your senators, your representatives, your congressmen eyeball to eyeball, it makes a difference from just sending emails, which is what I've been doing. But I think what we need, and there's, like I said, there's no doubt we need those trips not only to Washington, also to Austin. And I already took the liberty of talking to Pete, because I was never clear. I know I'm the new guy on the block here, but I never knew how these trips were developed or whatever. I think we need a process, and I know I was on the TYC board, state board, and there was a process that we followed for trips so that there's better communication. You all got a lot done. I'm proud of you, but I didn't know you were going. I don't think Pete knew. I don't think David knew. So I think we, and there's nothing wrong with that. You still got the job done. It's just that here, locally, we need better communication. And we've come a long ways, Judge, with having better communication. I have to hand it to you. And you can't think of everything. I mean, we need to help you. So I took the liberty of telling Pete come up with a plan, a process, and I have some ideas, I'm sure all of you do, and we can look at, we have history there. What is a window of time when these trips are taken? And then find out, set up a rotation basis, and you might be the one going all the time, John. David might say, well, it's my turn, but I'd rather you go, John. I just think we just need to refine our communication here.
Well, let me just say this. I mean, that may be the case, but we do have a process, and I think that process has been historically with this commission is that when a commissioner or the county judge feels that it's in the best interest to travel to go testify to a committee, to go check on whether or not, the state committee that's involved of issuing transportation bonds and so forth, that you just take up and go, because you know it needs to be done. You feel that you have the information necessary to do it, and I have seen in the time that I've been here that there hasn't been a single trip taken by the commissioners here or myself that is not necessary to do the business of the county. I know this last legislative session, both Commissioner Garza and Commissioner Wood took numerous trips to Austin, along with me as well, and I think you've gone a couple of times.
But Judge, let me just say something. I didn't say that, I started off by saying those trips are important,
right.
And I don't think we've wasted any money. I want to clarify that. They're being made done.
I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make clear what I'm saying is that when we take trips, we don't plan them out quite often because issues come up that pertain to the business that we're directly engaged in, and we go because it needs to be done. Commissioner Garza has been the chairman of the Proposition 2 committee for about 2 years, and issues come up on an ongoing basis that deal with that project. We don't put it on the agenda for him to go take this trip and discuss it. He goes because he needs to go talk to the individuals that are out there. During this legislative session, on numerous occasions, I had to go. There was nothing on the agenda that authorized me to go. I got a phone call from Veronica, and Veronica says, you need to be here tomorrow because the committee's going to take up the matter, and you need to come up and testify. So, when we can, what you say is right. When we can talk about these issues and discuss the necessity of going up and find out how best strategically to do it, yeah, it's important that we do it. But for example, this trip to Washington, I get a phone call the week before, after the meeting, and I was told, we've got markup next week, you need to get up there, and you need to go and find out what the hell's going on, and you need to talk to all these people, because if we don't get these bills, projects appropriated, then we're going to lose out for a year, and it may break the momentum on some of these projects, and it's very critical. Who decided to go beyond myself? That's a different issue, okay? And that may be something, that staff-wise needs to be dealt with. Like, for example, if a decision on who was going to be part of the team to go up to Washington needed to be made, then whoever was being told, hey, you need to go, needed to pick up the phone and call and say, who wants to go? Because this is coming up. All I knew is I was called and I was told to go.
And I'm glad you went.
I showed up at 5:45 at the airport. I knew that David was going to be there because Pete had told me that and congratulations, Pete's wife had a baby girl. 3 girls?
3 girls.
3 girls. Bendito entre todas las mujeres. And anyway.
I'll give you an example, Judge. There was when on a trip to Austin, I emailed Pete that I wanted to go and meet with some people in Austin. But then I got an email back from Pete, and I can't remember the exact date or anything, that David and John were already scheduled. And 3 of us couldn't go. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about not going or that there's an emergency, you go. The other thing I would recommend to you, Judge, and this is your staff that I'm talking to, we have technology. Let us know. I would have been able to say, yes, I got an email, these are the issues. I'm not saying you have to email me, Judge. I'm talking about your staff. You've got staff in your office. Just let us know what's happening. That's all I'm saying.
Let me say my part, Judge, please.
Okay.
I didn't want to go. Let me tell you.
The least travel commission.
I don't know what. I mean, going out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, waiting
up
for
at
the,
4,
for the
yeah.
4 o'clock in the morning, leaving your family, it's a lot of work, you know? I mean, I'm telling you, I have to really congratulate you guys to go out there and do work that we could be doing ourselves, and I think you represented us pretty well. When the newspaper calls you and says, do you think it's right when they didn't put it on the agenda at the right time? I have to say, ni modo que diga, sí, está todo, no. I have to say, no, it's not. You know, it's not right if you didn't do it on time. But the good overshadows the bad. That's what they didn't write that, you know?
Well, but wait a minute, let me make that clear too.
Well, I have to make something else clear. Pete, I'm not saying they didn't do a good job. I'm not saying that I'm not glad that they went. I'm just saying that I just want better communication and maybe some kind of a
That's fine.
plan.
Well,
We
you know,
understand what you're saying,
let me,
Mr.
Judge,
Alfaro.
before we even continue, I need to state something for the record. Your trip was unanimously approved by 3 commissioners here. It did not raise eyebrows during the commission meeting.
Why don't you show the
You know, well, I'm going to say it first. You know, it says here that it raised eyebrows during the commission meeting. I was here.
it wasn't even discussed.
It wasn't even discussed or questioned, okay?
It was not.
It was not discussed or questioned. So whatever eyebrows were raised happened after the meeting, after I was not present anymore, okay? I am as guilty of taking trips at times because of what you said, you know.
Without pre-authorization.
I usually will call you and tell you I'm headed to Austin, you know. And I don't ask you, may I go? I mean, and I usually don't even submit a travel request till like about 6 months later if I remember. That's the worst part, you know. But,
Let me show
It's no fun going.
let me show the headline in the article. It says, County questions unauthorized travel. And then it says
And we
here.
didn't.
Huh?
Must have been a slow news day.
And then it says the number of people that went and failed to first obtain approval raised eyebrows at Tuesday's meeting. There was not one single word said about this in Tuesday's meeting. Whoever wrote this story, a person by the name of Emma Perez Trevino, just made this up.
And it's-
Unless
she
the people
also-
were in the audience.
Oh, well, she was not in the meeting. She was not even here at the meeting until after executive.
well, I was here
Yeah.
and I didn't
And I was
discuss
too.
that issue at all.
She came in late.
And
Well,
she has everybody's cell
The
phone.
only
She could've
thing,
called
well,
if she wanted.
I didn't get called, you know.
Yeah, and then it
She called
says,
us.
but even the headline makes it sound like during the meeting, the travel was questioned. You know, and then also to talk about that somehow this was different than the way we've been doing business for the longest period of time is also misleading the
Well,
public.
Judge,
We
you
do
can
this all
see
the time.
you can see what she quoted me as saying.
Yeah.
It was necessary, and I said, we have growing pains, which I think we do. We still have some things to iron out. But it's nothing, I mean, it's not a headline topic, but since you brought it up and you had it in the
Too
agenda, I
long in
told you.
here as discussion.
Well, interestingly enough, while we were there, we found that, because the county does not have paid consultants in Washington, but some of the communities in the county, and some of the other counties do, one of the communities in the county got a call Monday by their consultant saying, you need to be up here this week. That was last week.
And
For
it was
some reason,
it
they
was a
couldn't-
critical meeting
Critical
because
meetings.
these people get bombarded with requests every day. Every day, the staff and the congressmen, if you walk into a congressional office on any day of the week, there's people waiting in the lobby and outside in the hall waiting to talk to either the congressman, the senator, or the staff. And they get one request after another. And so all these things they have to digest, hold on to, and remember to advocate for you when they go into the room where the decisions are made. And so we have to constantly remind them about these issues, and it really makes a difference. And in every instance, the staff and we, by the way, I didn't mention, we also met with Congressman Hobson's office, who is the chairman of the Energy and Water Appropriations Committee, and met with him out in the hallway as well to talk about our Intercoastal Waterway project and our Bahia flooding project. You know, they all say, we're glad you came, we're glad you gave us an update, and they remembered our project, some of them. Sometimes we talked to new staff, but in every instance, they said it was important for us to be there because it was a critical period of time because markup was going on the next meeting. So anyway, that's All I wanted to say is.
Well, I'll repeat again what I said at the beginning. It was a trip that should have been taken. You two did an excellent job. I'm proud of you. All I'm saying is that I'd like to know when you go and what, I might ask you to be sure and do something. Maybe you'll say, well, I've already got it on my agenda. Great. But we'd have input. All I'm asking is for better communication and perhaps better planning. And here comes Pete.
Well, and I think maybe in some degree there's some misconception as to the numbers of elected officials that can go. I don't think you'll find anywhere in Open Records Act that 3 or 4 or 5 of us can't go.
Well, there was
But you
one
can't
trip
if you
that I
don't know
did
what's
wanna-
going on, okay?
Well,
That's the only
that's-
thing. I think that's Mr. Tamayo's concern.
Judge,
How's that?
I mean, you can't decide to go on a trip if you don't know it's occurring.
Exactly.
And that's
maybe now I know. I'll go. Go ahead, Pete.
And I need to bring this up because I've been asked to. City of Harlingen has a trip planned June 28th through the 30th. And they do have some projects that are of interest to the county, obviously. One being the North Rail. 2, they've requested money for overpasses on Highway 509 between the expressway and the Free Trade Bridge. And they've also made a request for funding for overpasses.
Legal is saying something to us.
Are you asking for any kind of authorization?
No, I'm just letting them know that.
Reporting.
Washington trips, okay?
Information.
Are important.
Washington
It's
trip.
referring to item 3.
They've also requested funding for overpasses
Can we have Doug back?
the I-69 route between Harlingen and the other 2 counties before Nueces County, so y'all can be aware of that.
Okay, well, why don't you make sure you email that stuff to everybody?
I will.
This is excellent. Thank you, Pete. I think we're already getting results.
Congratulations again, Peter.
The one
I
that
mean,
worked
that is
real.
quick reaction.
Go ahead.
I
The one
love
that
it.
the
I
one
love
that
it.
planned well was your wife, Pete. You stayed home. You stayed home, okay?
And by the way, I will tell you one additional fact before we move on to the next subject. And not that Pete's assistance is not welcome, because he is. He really provides a lot of inside information on the substances of projects. But David Garcia, who is his assistant, was really helpful because he understands the legislative
He's been
project.
there.
He was the legislative director for Congressman Ortiz for a number of years. He must have started when he was 12 years old, because as much time, he looks like too young to even be able to vote, much less to have that kind of experience in the legislative process. But he was really familiar with the whole appropriations process, the way bills move through committees and so forth, so that when we talked, John and I could talk about the substances of the project that we want, but he could come in and talk about the procedures that are involved and say, well, is this, are you going to be able to do this in time for this and this and this? Something that John and I were totally unaware of.
Just say good.
Yeah, and he would, and then they would,
Just nod your head.
him and the legislative aide or the congressman would be talking, and we would just be sitting there and and I was thinking to myself, I'm sure as heck glad we brought this guy with us, because he really, really made a difference.
And
You want to stand up,
There's-
David, so I recognize you?
there's-
Stand up.
Yes, stand up.
Well, and Pete, they make a wonderful team.
Peter, yes.
It's not just.
I was in a meeting with them yesterday afternoon, and I was so very proud of both of them, and it had to do with the North Railroad.
They even have the
Is that your
mariachis.
background music or what?
Those mariachis, those.
Really?
It's not
Okay,
just.
let's go on to the
Let
next
me-
issue.
Let's
Let me
go.
add, Judge, it's not just his knowledge of the process and how things work up there, but his knowledge and knowing the people.
Oh, yeah, he knew
and the
everybody.
players.
He knew every staff person.
There's not a person we would be walking down the sidewalk and people would come up, hey, David, where you been? How come you're not here?
When we went to the Corps of Engineers, he knew the new director.
Yeah.
the new guy that was there. Anyway.
Well,
All right.
Pete, you did a good job in hiring.
We prepared a memo for you all regarding the trip, so I can pass it out right now.
Thank you. It's after the fact, but I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right. Their motion to acknowledge report.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed, motion carried. Let me move on to, let me skip around the matter of the audit is where? Huh?
Oh, yeah, here it is.
No, it's here.
Yeah, but let me take this up because Mark's got to go. 3, consideration possible action regarding auditor's findings as a result of any and all audits conducted by the auditor's office, included but not limited to the audit conducted for the sheriff's department from November to the present. We put this on the agenda at the request of the sheriff's department. There's been some reports involving some audits that have, some missing articles that were discovered as a result of the Cantu investigation, and questions with respect to findings of an audit. And so, because we had not received any information on this from the sheriff had not received any information on this, nor had our office, nor, as I understand, any of the commissioners. We requested that we discuss this in open session to see what happened. Sheriff?
Good morning, Judge. Excuse me. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Let me just give you a summary of some of the events, okay? When I won the election in 2004, right after that, I requested a full audit of the Sheriff's Office assets, property accounts, and equipment, and I didn't get one. The reason for that is because I wanted to make sure that when we took office and later on, 6, 7, 8 months later, we didn't find something missing and we didn't want to be pointing the fingers at anybody. We want to make sure that from when we took office, everything would be up to date and in order. Then after I took office in January 2005, myself and my chief deputy, Gus Reyna, again requested a complete audit in writing and verbally to our county auditor, Mark Yates. And we didn't receive any response from the auditor. We realized then that there were some files, when we were looking for some files to present to the district attorney, that they were missing. We were missing contracts and documents from the various departments and from the jail division. Then in February 2005, the deputy, Reyna, and jail administrator were told that AJ Commissary in arrear from an alleged computer error in 2004. Preliminary investigation revealed that possibly $30,000 in double taxation to the inmates occurred. We just wanted to know how this happened, who investigated, and who audited this error, and by whose authority was the situation resolved. Then in March, we received a request or a report or an advice from the RM, which is the Defense Revitalization, I can't pronounce that word, Revitalization Management Office, which is the federal government surplus equipment, saying that they were going to have an inventory of the equipment that the Sheriff's Department had acquired. Well, during the internal investigation, they found that equipment missing, such as generators, computers, vehicles. And we still did not have any kind of an audit so that we could show it to the people from the federal government. Then in April of this year, we talked to the auditor and asked who he recommended that we hire an audit to do an audit of the commissary and the sheriff's office to make sure that we had everything in order, specifically the commissary more than anything else. He recommended that we contact Long and Chilton, and I believe those are the auditors first for the county, so we did. Then in May of 2005, errors are found in the commissary in the procedures and events of the prior administration. Also, the reporting of unclaimed money to the state controller's office was non-existent. Long Chilton is asked to investigate further into the procedure on inmates and commissary accounts. We all know what happened the last few weeks, but the people there, Sheriff Cantu and the owner of the commissary, or at the time the guy that got the contract, commissary of the sheriff's office, Jerry Garcia, were both arrested. We also found out, and I called the bank yesterday to check on the bank account and found out that somewhere along the line that he had been issued checks personally to Jerry Garcia from the commissary to the tune of maybe $10,000 for one check, maybe $12,000 to the other check, and perhaps another check. I don't know whether they were made because he was part owner of the commissary, or they were made because for some other reasons. So this was one of the main reasons that we wanted to find out through a complete audit, is to see what was going on. So this is more or less, in a nutshell, more or less, Commissioner, what we wanted you to be aware of, and to also, hopefully we can, in the future, perhaps, run the right procedure and have more communication with everybody so that we can go ahead and correct whatever errors are there. So hopefully I can answer any questions that you may have.
I was told, and I don't know, I've not spoken to your office about this, but I was told by a reporter that Long and Chilton was not permitted to take the books of the commissary books or make copies of them to do the audit. What do you know about that?
Well, I happen to be out of town, but I heard that from my chief deputy, okay? Myself and the chief jailer, Mike Liner, were out of town on that particular day, so, Judge, I can only relate to you what I heard from him.
So the issue here is audits requested, audits performed, but you had not been informed of the results of the audits, and particularly as it related to the equipment that was there and what was going on in the commissary, and all of this pertains to the investigation and to some extent, or to a large extent, the indictment of Sheriff Cantu, and no one knowing about any of these things in terms of the results of those audits until now.
Well, until now, and we have so the commission can be aware, we do have a meeting tomorrow with the people from the audit office, Long and Chilton. We have invited Marquise to go out there. We invited the commissioner, and we'll invite anybody to go there with us so they can go ahead and tell us what is that we need to do, what is that they're looking for, and we will have a complete audit on it.
Okay. Any questions for the
Is that going to be their final report, or are they still?
I haven't gotten final report, Commissioner.
What do you expect tomorrow?
Well,
Not a
that's
final
what-
report.
No, not tomorrow, not a final report tomorrow, but hopefully we can go in the right directions to see is what they would like to look into.
Okay. Any other questions from the sheriff? Mark?
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to have a public venue to address some of these issues. I'd like to make a brief comment before we start. I'd like to thank all the people of Harlingen, San Benito, Brownsville, La Feria, South Padre, Arroyo City, and all points in between for the privilege of being your county auditor for the last 12 years. I personally want to thank the district judges for their confidence and their leadership in providing me with this particular task. I want to thank the sheriff for his continued good working relationship that his office and my office have had during his first term as sheriff and for the first 5.5 months of his term, current administration. I also want to thank the employees who serve with me in my office. It is through their hard work and diligence that keep accounts of the county true and accurate. Through our work, the county's annual financial report has received recognition for excellence in reporting over the past decade continuously. I'd like to thank also those commissioners and other elected officials who have visited my office to seek understanding in the true circumstances arising from the situation. And I'd also like to thank all those who called me at my office or at my home to express their concerns about this situation. At this point in time, I'm interested in addressing some of the new issues brought up by the sheriff today and any of the questions that the commissioners would have directly.
Well, I thought you were going to announce your resignation or something with that.
No, sir, I'm not. Because a number of commissioners have called me to find actually what was the truth, and they didn't take it directly from the reporters.
It almost sounded like when our elections administrator made his little presentation and thank everybody in Cameron County for allowing him to be elections administrator and then resign.
Well, sir, sometimes we have to stop and thank the people for the privilege of serving them.
Okay.
And every opportunity I can, I will.
Well, Mark, I think the issue here is this. It's not, it's not anything other than the fact that there was a legitimate request made by the sheriff prior to his taking office and subsequent to him taking office about what he was going to have in his possession.
I
or in his
agree with you.
Can I finish?
Yes.
And in terms of his custody and control at the time that he took office, the administration of Conrado Cantu, at least for the last year and a half to 2 years, had been marked with a lot of administrative problems. There was issues with respect to people being prosecuted for stealing things from inmates. There was questions about equipment. There was a whole bunch of administrative issues that caused the Cameron County Commissioners Court a lot of concerns, and obviously the voters a lot of concerns, and they decided to change sheriffs, rightfully so. And so when Omar Lucio came in and his administration, they wanted to see what they got. I mean, they wanted to see what equipment was there, what the condition of the commissary fund was, and what had gone on with the commissary fund, and they requested audits in November and in January, and I think there was an ongoing request made of that department, by that department of your office. The auditor's office is in charge of looking at these things and
Absolutely, and if you'll permit me a chance to respond.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
I have a meeting at 11:15.
I know. Well, this is important, Mark. And the sheriff was concerned, rightfully so, and it turned out to be rightfully so, that stuff was missing, and there was issues with respect to the commissary fund, and he was concerned that he had never gotten a report on that issue. Now, that's what was brought to my attention. That's the sole issue that it is why this was placed on the agenda, because I had a very angry sheriff department letting me know that this stuff is, we're finding out about this stuff from the press when we should have found out about this internally, and we made a legitimate request early on, and we never got a response, and that's what it's all about.
Judge, as you had highlighted earlier in your meeting, the press is not always accurate in their reporting. They're working on the best information they have. They're based on hearsay in some of the discussions. Those are almost your words directly on other issues. Now, the comment that was made in front of the sheriff's office before the TV news was that the auditor's office was not going to release any documents, not allow any copies made, and but we would work with Long Chilton on this issue. Those are not my words. Those are somebody else's words.
That was a
and those were
reporter's
repeated
words.
on camera, and they're hard to take back because they're not true. There's an ongoing investigation of the former sheriff. Federal agencies have relied on our documents. We keep them, we safeguard them, but they are public documents. We allow the public to come in and look at them, make any copy they want, and make any assertion that they so desire. The documents regarding the commissary activities and the inmate trust account are a part of your county's annual financial report approved by the Commissioners Court on May 5th. Subsequently, 2 weeks later, the court approves an audit committee, names a sheriff to that audit committee. At the end of that meeting, I provide him with the county's annual financial report, which is the audit of the inmate trust account and the inmate commissary account. Now, those reports are on a summary basis. The sheriff has visited my office since his term began in January 1, approximately a dozen times. I knew he had some issues that he wanted to talk about. He wrote me a letter prior to his term requesting us to count the inventory. We did, and subsequently, throughout January 1 and forward, we were still working on verifying information. So, based on that, on his visits, we had the information ready to discuss with him. A number of the visits that he had did not even include any discussion with regards to inventory and what he had. We had it ready to discuss. He had other issues he wanted to discuss. This issue on June 8th with regards to a missing shotgun would never have fallen in the sheriff's inventory. This shotgun belonged to Constable Conrado Cantu. It was one of 27 purchased by Robert Lopez as Constable Precinct 4. Our efforts began to find this shotgun back in 2002. We contacted Robert Lopez when he was with the sheriff's office, and we requested packing slips for these weapons. And through our own inventory at year end of all constables, we identified 26 shotguns and their serial numbers, but we did not have the assignment listing. We had worked with Robert Lopez and the sheriff's own armory deputy to nail down where shotguns were and where other weapons were. Now, the issue with regards to surplus property is a new issue to me. Now, as the sheriff did make some trips to bring surplus property back to the county as savings to the county, we are not aware of when property is brought. And property is brought back and is not necessarily approved and accepted by the Commissioner's Court at that time. That's when we act, when the surplus property is brought back to the county and then the donation is accepted by the Commissioner's Court. Now, based on that, if that action is taken, we include it in our inventory. If it's not Cameron County inventory. So, the other issue with regards to weapons is what we focused upon because that's the most urgent asset and the most deadly asset out there. Now, between 2002 and the end of December of 2004, we had worked with Robert Lopez on this issue, Joe Elizardi, a deputy in the Sheriff's Administration, Carlos Del Bosque, the deputy in charge of the armory, to nail down serial numbers, assignments, and location of weapons. I have approximately 13 different emails that we have and other documents that show an ongoing dialogue with the sheriff's office on this issue, specifically weapons. Now, on February 4th, we had the best information we thought we were going to get from the sheriff's office. We emailed it to the armory deputy in the afternoon, approximately 2 o'clock on February 4th, a Friday.
Is that the guy that was reported in the news that y'all said?
I don't know who was reported in the
I don't
news.
know, what was the name of
watch
that
it.
guy? Chief? Is he the guy, the armory deputy?
He's a licensed peace officer in the sheriff's department in charge of the armory. And so, at that time, we got the best information on the sheriff's weapons. We noted, here's the purchase orders that we have, here's a list of weapons, and then in addition, the weapons, the lines that do not have a date are the ones that we do not have accounted for. We don't have them accounted for. We don't know whether they're missing. That is for the law enforcement agency to determine where they are. Now, the shotgun itself would have never been in the sheriff's inventory.
But there was another shotgun that was missing.
That's right. It's in the list provided to the sheriff. This email that was sent to Carlos Del Bosque, the armory, the licensed officer in charge of the armory, on February 4th, was also sent to Sheriff Omar Lucio and Gus Reyna.
So you're saying that you notified Sheriff Lucio that there was a missing shotgun in the sheriff's department?
I notified him that we had weapons that were not accounted for. We don't know whether they're missing in another safe in the sheriff's office, in somebody's car. There are 4,000 assets in the sheriff's department that are under his control. 280 weapons, some are Uzis, assault rifles, things of that nature. There's 80 plus vehicles, all with radios, cages. At the same time, you and the Commissioner's Court and the current sheriff are shifting assets between 4 facilities, and I have 1 fixed asset auditor to account for this.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get something clear. You notified by email, you're saying that you notified by email the sheriff's department's person in charge of the armory and the sheriff that there was some missing weapons. Unaccounted for. But what was done to follow up on that? I mean, what was done by anyone to say, you know, we need to go in there and find out where they're at and give a report to whoever needs to be given a report that there's weapons out there that are unaccounted for? I mean, I think there's a process that needs to be undertaken. It's not just a question of...
And I agree with you on this, and I'd like to interject at this stage. The department comes up to the Commissioner's Court and asks for funds for assets. They're assigned by the Commissioner's Court to that department. In my capacity, we perform inventory counts, cash counts, things that reviews. I don't use the word audit. Most of the lay people do. But we report back to the elected official that information. And it's incumbent upon that elected official to report back to the Commissioner's Court on the status of assets given to them. That is what our understanding is the rule is and policy.
I'm not sure. I mean, we had a special situation here. I mean, we had an administration that had all sorts of problems prior to the time that Montelupo came into office, and it would seem to me that there needed to be a major effort to go in there and do something to make sure that everything that was supposed to be there was still there, and if it wasn't, where it was at. I think that's the concern that the sheriff had, and why this has become such a big issue. We weren't dealing with an ordinary situation here. We were dealing with an office that had some serious problems, and we all
agree with you.
And so, and I think I even remember members of this Commissioner's Court wanting to make sure that a complete inventory be taken once the new administration. I think Commissioner Tamayo had made some comments about the fact that, you know, when the new administration comes in there, we need to check everything, make sure there's nothing missing in there, because, you know, we had too many problems with this old sheriff, and so.
It's physically impossible to count everything with the resources we have. We do the best job we can, but there's 4,000 pieces of assets in the sheriff's office, and at the same time, you are moving federal inmates from DC2 to DC1 or vice versa, moving kitchen equipment from DC2 to the county jail. All at the same time, we're taking this inventory. Now, we focused upon weapons because it's the most important issue. And what I provided to you is a listing of emails and their contents of ongoing dialogue with law enforcement officers, noting that this is a condition that we're finding your armory in. We need to track down these weapons and serial numbers. In addition, we do not receive weapons in the auditor's office. It is difficult. We have to go out in the field, locate them, obtain their serial number, and at the same time this was happening, files from the sheriff's office were pulled off computers and removed that kept us from looking at the assignments of these weapons. And I was told this by the chief park ranger at the time, prior to the first of the year. I was told by a number of officers in the sheriff's office, and it made our job more difficult.
And let me just make something clear also, is that all we know about stuff that was missing was what we saw in TV. We don't, I've had discussions, you know, over the last few months with Chief Reyna and the sheriff about other things that are missing.
That's correct.
There's been a lot of discussions about other things that are not there, that should be there, and questioning where they are at right now. And so I think this issue came to light because of what we saw in the news media, but there is a concern out there that what you saw in the news media about the shotgun and the radio is a very small tip of the iceberg of things that are no longer in that sheriff's department that were purchased with taxpayer money and are.
You're correct, Judge. You're very correct, because when we came to replace 200 plus mattresses in DC1, there was no question of where the other mattresses went.
There was a question. I questioned.
Right, you did.
Yes.
But nobody else made a question. Where'd these other mattresses go? We asked the question.
How did they disappear?
When the sheriff's office moved from next door to the Carousels Rucker, the phone system was missing. We looked for it. No one had said where this is. We made inquiries.
Well, we need a report on that stuff,
That's
Mark.
right.
I mean, it's just
And
like,
I agree with you.
you know, we don't, I mean, we depend upon y'all to tell us these kinds of things. I'm sorry, maybe, you know, we deal with so many issues over time, and we've had, you know, different issues with respect to with equipment missing from different departments, not just the sheriff's department over time. But did you ever tell us about this missing shotgun from precinct 3?
We informed, in fact, we didn't find the packing information from on these 27 shotguns that were purchased by Robert Lopez when he was Constable Precinct 4. He received these weapons Law enforcement officers have to receive the weapons.
So my
And
question
so-
is, did you ever let the commissioners know about that?
I informed the elected official at the time that we thought they were missing a weapon. We also contacted the elected official prior to holding an office. They both made the same statement. They believed the weapon was with Conrado Cantu. We report this to the elected official, we report it to a law enforcement agency, and my understanding is it's incumbent upon them to file a report with a DPS on missing weapons. That was not done.
What law enforcement agency did you?
Constable
what-
Precinct 2, Abelardo Gomez and former Constable Abel Pettis.
But was it ever reported to the DA's office or the sheriff department?
I don't know what they reported after that.
But you didn't?
No.
My question is whether you had reported it or not. Y'all are the ones that
No,
found
we
that.
did not report it because the packing information didn't arrive until end of December or the 1st of January, where we had already had our listing from the constables of all their weapons, but we didn't have the serial numbers from those 27, and we had repeatedly asked for that information from the Constable Precinct 4, and it was difficult to obtain. Then we finally got it from the original vendor who sold it to us.
Well,
Mark, excuse me. I know that Commissioner Garza brought up the question about the mattresses.
Yes.
And I might have the wrong interpretation of what your response was, but you said you were the only one. Do we all have to ask the same question to get your attention?
No, that's not true. But the issue was brought up in Commissioner's court. I didn't have that information. We had asked the sheriff at the time, or the person managing the federal inmates, where are these? He didn't have an answer where these things were. No one was stepping forward and saying, where are these? I mean, we didn't know. There was no way for us to find out. Anecdotally, some were told us they were taken to Carousel Rucker. Some were taken to other places. We couldn't find anybody to give us that information. There was no information to report. I mean, we didn't have the information.
Well, the information would have been,
But
we
don't
cannot
have the
locate
information.
them.
And I think that was the message at the time. We
Well,
don't have that information.
possibly we need to change the scope of the auditors we have, outside auditors, so that they could give us a management letter that truly reflects some of these things that it would include inventory. Because they are the ones who do the audit
They do a
on your
financial
department,
audit.
right? And if there's areas that need improvement, maybe we need to kind of change the scope a little bit for that particular.
At the year end, we inventoried every constable's office, the ones that we could find, but all the information, we reported back to most of them. We inventoried the DA's office. We reported that back to David Gonzalez on January 6th, that information. The sheriff's information is volumes and reams of documents, and what he said to me yesterday is that we wish you would have printed it out yourself because it's taking toner and ink from our printers. It's a volume of information to go through. And so, and I don't know what he's done with it since, but the information has been conveyed to the sheriff's office, and it's ongoing. But the department itself is responsible for their assets. Our job is to verify that they're there and work with them to try to find it.
Well, there's a misunderstanding then, if that's the case, because I never understood that to be the way the system works. When an audit, the sheriff's department is in the business of running the jail, having patrol officers out there, responding to calls that are being made to his department about activity going on there, requests for assistance, criminal investigations, and so on and so forth. Last I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, he does not have an audit component in his department. He never has.
He does. It's the armory chief who's responsible for the inventory of his weapons.
Well, and if you, but I mean,
You got 4,000 other.
yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, there's a lot more to that than just that one issue. I mean, I just finished scanning quickly, and I may have read it wrong. This document that you provided us with, and I'll make it a copy of the record, is the Sheriff Office Inventory Efforts. And if you read it, what it tells you is there was an ongoing dialogue between Joe Elizalde and this Gozdalaski individual about issues, and some other individuals in the sheriff's department. And what it tells you that is that it raises a whole bunch of bells and whistles big time, that there was merchandise, particularly weapons, that were missing and unaccounted for, and that people were not being forthcoming on the information that needed to be provided to get a proper inventory of this. You know, if anything...
Well, what we're finding, what we found out was a lot of disorganization.
Hold on. Well, yeah, and that's why the sheriff requested it.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that, you know, maybe I'm missing something, but I would think that you know, it was incumbent upon the auditor's office to make sure that this thing came back with a report of some sort that said, we've got this weapons that were issued, this weapons to these individuals, these weapons have not been turned in by these individuals, and this is where we've got a problem, and somebody needs to do something about it. Report it to us, report it to the sheriff, report it to the DA's office. So I understand the DA's office never got a report on any of this stuff.
The DA received a report on their assets.
No,
on January 6th.
We're talking about the sheriff's department. And I know that because I know the DA constantly was very concerned about a lot of those issues as well. But the
Absolutely, upon their request, it was provided.
The other thing,
we worked with them on this.
The other thing that I want to point out is that the commissary audit, we were dealing with an unusual situation. I think everybody recognized with what had happened with this prior administration, even you know, because of the way that office had been run. And I don't know how, I'm not a CPA and I don't know how it works, but I would think that part of a complete audit would have to include taking a look at all the money that was being sent out through checks that were being written, the money that was coming in, and then find out where all that money went and for what purpose it went out and how it was expended. And one of the things that I don't know was mentioned, in addition to the fact that you've got these checks that are out there that are unaccounted for.
The checks are all accounted for.
Well, I mean, the sheriff is saying that there was 10,000, 15,000.
When A&J took off, started as commissary, they did not have their business set up in their bank account. They were running it as a sole proprietor at that time. They filed their DBA in the county clerk's office later on. And so payments were made directly to the individuals on that. We did look at those particular payments. All checks are accounted for, Judge.
Yeah. And then the other issue is there's something that the sheriff provided me with that says something about some $30,000.
Right, there's an error on how they made their allocation to the county, and they, based on their allocation to the county, they were shortchanging the county's percentage by a tune of $30,000. We worked with, and keep in mind, the people running the commissary under Conrado Cantu, the employees, are the same ones that are running it right now. There's different ownership. So
that makes it even more important. I would think,
and, you know, that's what it is. So we are working with the same people who made the same mistake, and we've established procedures, and they're not making these mistakes anymore.
Well,
we retrieved all the money. We spoke to your counsel.
Mark, if you've got $30,000 missing, or where we've been shortchanged, I don't know, but at some point...
all money has been recovered.
But were we told? Were the commissioners given a report?
We've had discussions with your counsel on this issue.
Well, that was never brought to...
Not to us.
To us, to the commissioners, that there was $30,000 that we were, in fact...
And the problem was at the time was that the administration at that time was set on keeping that particular vendor. And we had said, okay, you are short, I mean, and I had an auditor assigned to this, and I had to pull him off for another job for a couple months, and then we came back and looked at that again and determined, hey, you're shortchanging the county's commissary account. And so you need to pay that the money back.
I mean, they didn't come and volunteer and say that. It was found through your office, right?
Yes.
Well, right,
Okay.
but You know,
Well, that
we've
was a
got
red
the guy
flag,
that's the
that's
head
for
of
sure.
of the commissary, that owns the commissary getting indicted along with the sheriff.
I have nothing to do with that.
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but we find out at some point, a long time ago, we found out that this same guy was cheating the county out of $30,000, and none of us up here were aware of that.
We retrieved all the money back for the county.
But that's
that
not the
doesn't
point.
matter.
Right.
We should know that this
And
is
your
going on.
administration at the sheriff's office was well aware of this. And we worked, and we structured this, and we had conversations in my auditor's office with your council, your department, your commissioner's court council, on what we could do. And the advice we had, well, this is a sheriff's contract. He's going to keep the vendor. And so I said, well, if he's going to do that, we're going to have to get that money back. And so we worked with that vendor and got the money back. And so at the time Sheriff Lucio took office, at that last payment, we made full recovery of funds based on that.
You know, that's almost the equivalent of saying that it was all right for that person who used to work at the sheriff's department, once the news media discovered that there was a shotgun missing, for him to return the shotgun and say, well, I didn't know I had the shotgun in my house, you know, and I haven't been working at the sheriff's department for 6 months. It's all right, don't do anything to me, and he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that you took the $30,000, but I think the public's entitled to know when these things are missing, and at least we're entitled to know, because even though he's entitled to contract, you know, I promise you, had we known about this thing,
Judge,
you know,
typically when I work with an elected official, we're there to improve their operations, help them in their efficiency, and have an ongoing working relationship. We're not in a mode of got you or to embarrass them. Our real help is to help them see what's going on below their operations that they may not see on their radar scope. And so in working with the sheriff's administration, we looked at how this particular process, it was not a method of deception by the vendor. It was an improper calculation on a spreadsheet that was used month after month. And it was not a means of stealing money from the county. It was just.
And how did you know
improper.
that, Mark?
Because we looked at their spreadsheet and determined that this particular calculation was incorrect. And then,
you know, cost of goods versus gross.
I
right.
know
And
what
then,
he's talking
you
about.
know, the other issue is at the time we were working through calculations that the software made mistakes on. There was a 10% override on some of the cost of goods sold, that it was confused that was sales tax or no, not sales tax. So it took us a little time to work within the software issues and to determine, hey, there is a problem, the calculation is wrong. And we went and met with Robert Lopez, Armandina, whatever her name is, the operator for the commissary, and we spoke to him and saying, based on our calculations, here is what the true number is. The sheriff's office was present at that time, and they sat in on the meetings, and they agreed as to the course of action we take.
over how long a period of time had they cheated us out of $30,000?
I don't know the specifics.
Was it in their first or second contract?
In fact, we only became aware of that second contract on a hearsay basis. We obtained a copy of it, and we found out about it in August of 2004. And then I went up to your legal counsel and say, hey, there's a new contract that extends beyond the term of this current sheriff. You need to look at it. So we were unaware that there was a new contract until August of 2004. That contract is dated October 23rd, 2003. Why is the court not aware of this new contract, sir? You know, we should
It wasn't
know.
brought to us.
You're right.
It wasn't brought to us.
How do we find out about these things? By looking, by listening to employees. That's our source of information, because it doesn't come always through official channels. And we act upon things we hear. And sometimes we're not as quick because the rumor mill is not as quick as it needs to be.
We shouldn't have to depend on a rumor mill.
Or the newspaper, right?
You know, I met with the sheriff yesterday because, you know, the activities of June 8th put everybody in a tizzy, and then everybody was somewhat making statements in the press about what may or may not have been said. And we're finding out about what the official opinion of the court is on the 5 o'clock news. You know, I'm on the floor right down below. You know, take 30 steps. Come visit me if you have a concern. But, you know, we're dealing with the inmate commissary account, the federal inmate revenue, indigent health care, a number of operations that the county has. And so, you know, just like you said with the congressman, everybody's coming through your door and asking for things or asking you to deal with a certain grant. You know, we're trying our best to get the job done and working pretty hard. And so, you know, we're informing as fast as we can. We rely on your email system to inform the elected officials.
Well, we weren't getting those emails. So.
Well, Judge, you don't have an email site.
Well, no, my office does. Remy
You're right.
does.
And I have to report to underlings to communicate to you.
Remy.
And that's what I heard on TV, sir.
Mr. Underling?
That's what you said.
What do you mean?
You used that word.
The what?
Underling.
What was said by you on TV was this, that I shouldn't report to underlings.
You used underlings.
But and yet it is difficult to send an email directly to you because you do not have
As
one.
I understand, I have a cell phone, and I have a phone that you can pick up the phone, and you can, anytime you can reach me, everybody in this county reaches me on that cell phone. It's almost like it was broadcast on the news because
I agree with you,
it's
and I
easy
have a
to get a
cell
hold
phone
of
too,
me,
sir.
and anybody that wants to get a hold of me can always get a hold of me. The point is,
And likewise, sir.
the point is that no one got any of this information prior to the time that we heard from it in the media. None of us. We're the policymakers in this county. We're the ones that have to make the decisions. I've got a sheriff department that took over an office that was plagued with problems.
And you're right, we're 160 days into this administration. You tell me, what can we accomplish in 160 days?
Well,
I did inventory in probably 35, 40 days.
Well, we certainly didn't get this information, and
Sir, I believe the responsibility is with the elected official who the asset is signed to.
right. Sheriff, do you have anything to respond, or Chief, anyone?
This is when you ask for the new position, Sheriff Lucio. Okay.
That's assuming he did anything wrong.
We did meet with as a matter of Commissioner Garza and Mark Chase, and he provided us with what I consider an inventory. I'm not a bookkeeper, I have CPA. I think there's a difference between an audit and an inventory. I can count how many chairs are here. I want to know what was there when I left last time, and in between, what is there right now. That was my question, that's what I wanted to know.
And where it went.
And then where it went.
That's what I was concerned, and that's what I'm still concerned. On the other hand, we did hire that Chilton and Long, and we're paying out of the commissary funds, which the law allows me to do that. Is it fair for us to do it? Well, be that as it may, we're going to do it because I want to make sure that we have everything under control, that we know where everything is. If you have any questions, well, I hope I can answer first.
Well, I want to ensure that we go forward in a better and with a better process, or, I mean, whatever needs to be changed, so at this, you don't come before us again, both of you, and not having resolved anything.
Commissioner, my philosophy has been that I will work with each and everybody. I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem working with Mark Jace. I worked with him before. I do not. Perhaps, maybe better communication, whatever it is, we'll be able to do it. All I want to make sure is that we have everything in place there, and I don't want somebody point the finger at me a year and a half later, okay? I ran and have run on accountability, I have run on integrity and service, and I want to make sure that everything's there in place, okay?
And I agree with the sheriffs on this issue. And in a meeting we had in discussing this, we felt like, and he can correct me if my opinion is incorrect, that the sheriff's office is a significant large part of the county. As I said, we had 80-plus vehicles, 4,000 pieces of equipment, a number of bank accounts and responsibilities. It's the largest employer, within Cameron County government. We think he needs a
I think
business
that's true. I
manager.
think the health department's got more people.
Well, maybe so. But we think that the sheriff's office needs a business manager. Sheriff is a lawman. His top assistants are lawmen. But he needs a business manager to set up business practices of asset control. Yes, we can go there and test him, but we can't be in his office every day. I have 38 elected officials. I think that this position is well overdue. It should have been there probably 8, 9, 12 years ago.
Mark, may I remind you, you're 20 minutes late to your meeting? And I think, let's go to the next item.
Okay. And, you know, we're going to improve our
Pay attention to the stoolie meal.
we're going to improve our communication on our ongoing processes. But what it's highlighting is that the sheriff's office needs some administrative positions. And then if the commissioner's court's going to hold my office to a certain level of accountability of 100% control of every asset, I'm going to need more people to take control of these assets and to account for them. One person is not sufficient, sir.
Well,
And so I'm going to be making a request for additional help. Thank you very much.
I think we're concerned about all of the items that belong to the county, all of the inventories, all of the furniture and fixtures, but especially when it comes to weapons, that's a
Absolutely.
big, really red flag. And the term you've used, and Sheriff, I think you've used it, and Judge, you've used it, is that there are still unaccounted for weapons, plural.
That is correct.
What are we going to do from this point to figure out where they are and account for them?
And that is for your law enforcement agencies to assist us with. We'll provide any assistance, but they need to be the lead agency.
Now, see, you've already improved the process. You used the word assisted, which means you're going to be working together.
And in the timeline that I show you, we've received good assistance from the past administrative positions to the current one. So this surprise is a surprise because we had ongoing dialogue until this particular event showed up. Sheriff, he and I met yesterday, right?
We invited you to our office because, like I stated, we have an open door policy. We like to get along with everybody.
And you told me
to make sure to get everything in order, and also to advise you. And if I did not, I'd like to let you know that anything that comes up here that is a criminal matter, I am the chief law enforcement officer. Please come to me and talk to me, and I will take action.
we do. And
Thank you.
And as we have in the past, if something is in the legal nature, and depending on who it involves, we either contact the sheriff or the district attorney. And I think we have met those particular requirements.
Well, next time, courtesy copy Del Bosque and email Oman,
We'll do that.
okay?
Thank you.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a different standard with the sheriff department as there is with the public works department. When we had missing items at the public works department, we got a report. We were told what was going on. Matter was submitted to the district attorney's office. People were prosecuted. You know, all those things occurred, and we were well informed of what was going on. We had a problem administration where we had a new sheriff coming into town. We had issues with respect to equipment. You know, I know you've made a presentation, and the position that you've taken is, well, you know, it's not your job to follow up on these things. You bring it to their attention, but
Judge, that's not true. And these words, once you release them, they're hard to take back. You have a history there of follow-up. I mean, in those emails, there is a follow-up. And the follow-up doesn't stop. It is continuous. So we do not let...
The last email that I have here on the weapons is on February the 4th, on dealing with weapons.
Yes.
And that was February, March, April, May. That was 4.5 months ago, where I have any activity listed on the emails on any of these issues. I have an email here dated December of 2004. Actually, I have an email dated from May the 3rd of 2004, January 7th of 2004, where these issues are coming out. This is in the prior administration.
Absolutely.
And there's discussions with people that work for Conrado Cantu about this, and then, ironically, on December the 4th, on December 2004, it says, Chief Park Ranger Gus Reyna approached me in the hallway of my office. He informed me that Joey Lizardo had removed files from his computer, saved them to a floppy disk, and took them home. This information had the update weapons list and assignments. To my knowledge, this information has not been recovered. The same information was conveyed to my assistant auditors by Officers Danny Huerta and Carlos Del Bosque. We feel that this compromised our effort. We decided to continue to seek information on the weapons to generate the list. And that's on December the 4th. All the emails concerning these issues stop on February the 4th. There's no more discussions on these issues. There's no more follow-up, and we were never told about any of this stuff.
Right. We have not received follow-up from the sheriff's office on this.
Well, you know.
We can go on.
Well, I appreciate the fact that the rumor that you brought to Mark's attention produced something. You know, Gus, I mean, because you acted on it.
Yes, we did.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Judge. I appreciate this venue.
I don't think it produced anything.
I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Let's go.
And I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys.
Motion to acknowledge report.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We've got some good folks from San Benito sitting out there, our mayor, two city commissioners, or one city commissioner.
And the city
our
manager.
city manager. And that's item number what?
It's an executive session.
Executive
That's
session.
an executive session.
Okay, all right. Is there something we need to take? If not, why don't we go into
Executive session.
executive session now so we can get y'all
So
out of here
moved.
as quickly as possible. Motion by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garza. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We're now in executive session. Pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.707.
Open session.
Second.
By Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Wood. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hold on.
A. 29A.
25A.
I know you have a hard time seeing.
Yeah, I know.
29
Because of the
29A.
surgery.
29A, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Cameron County versus Faulkner, USA, formerly known as Landmark.
No report.
No report.
No report.
No report.
Remember 29A, don't make the mistake that I make.
I don't know why I have 28.
No, it's 28, but it's 29A.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's the action.
Oh, you're right,
item.
you're right.
Okay, there's no
Legal
report
counsel?
by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor? Well, there was no report.
Aye.
Okay, 28 or 29B, confer with Commissioner Court Legal Counsel concerning issues regarding the Cameron County Detention Center and the Cameron County Sheriff's Administration building pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.071.
No report.
Table
So
this
moved.
was not
Or
discussed.
tabled or whatever.
Okay, there was no report, no discussion on item B. Item C, 29C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning solid waste disposal in Cameron County, on which the duties of the attorney of the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct on the State's Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Act meeting pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.071.
Acknowledge
Acknowledge
report.
report.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion by Commissioner Garza to acknowledge report, second by Commissioner Edna Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, now,
D.
D, 29D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Cameron County versus Bobo Construction Company in the 404th District Court, cause number 2002-05-2015-G for discussion on status of case and mediation authority pursuant to VTCA Government Code Section 551.071.
Move to acknowledge report.
Of council.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion by Commissioner John Wood to acknowledge report, second by Commissioner Anton Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, good. 29E, confer with Commissioners Court, legal counsel concerning Anthony Mena versus Salvador Carmona, case number M-05-109 for discussion and authority for legal representation of Lynn Petre pursuant to ECA Government Code Section 551.071.
Move to give legal counsel authority to deny.
No.
To give him authority to deny.
To deny.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Tamayo to deny, second by Commissioner Garza. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 29F, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the supplemental environmental project to offset the fines from enforcement docket number 2002-1339-MLME-E pursuant to ETCA Government Code Section 551.071.
Move to give judge authority to sign the report for the Commissioners Court.
Second.
Well, there's a motion to authorize the county judge to sign by Commissioner Garza and second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 29G, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning the possible sale of Health Department in San Benito to the City of San Benito pursuant to ETCA Government Code Section 551.072.
Move to proceed with the sale with the understanding that it's subject to a couple of legal questions that our legal department has.
Second.
Just to make sure that's the clinic.
Okay, there's a motion to pursue with the sale.
Health Department.
Oh, okay, the
Yeah,
clinic.
behind City Hall.
It's the
okay?
clinic, the clinic.
Right.
On Travis.
Right.
On Travis.
The health department was actually the.
Unless we can get him to buy the whole health department, maybe that would work.
There's a motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pardon?
Yes, Mayor.
It's subject to the contract that your attorney sent.
Laughing at you.
We need the money now. Okay, 29H.
Did we vote?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yes.
29H, the deliberation regarding billing agreement with the Water Supply Corporation and the CCNS for solid waste garbage collection service in Cameron County pursuant to ETCA Government Code Section 551.071.
Acknowledge report.
Acknowledge report.
Second.
There's a motion to acknowledge report by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Wood. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's have it. 29I, confer with Commissioner Court Legal Counsel concerning Leonardo Rincones versus Cameron County case or cause number 05-06-003057-A in the 107th Judicial Court for the discussion and authority to represent the county pursuant to ETCA Government Code Section 551.071.
Move to authorize legal to represent
County. Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Garza to authorize the county.
Legal counsel.
And second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Do we have any other,
Yes.
Well, we have to go back to the,
Number 4, Pete.
Number 4.
we have to go back to the original.
Were there any more on the supplemental agenda?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but the judge asked that we wait.
We're gonna wait on that.
Okay, so we're number
Number
4,
four.
the regular agenda, right? On the, before the.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, let me see.
Budget
Items
amendments.
for discussion and action. Number 4, budget amendments, line items, transfer or salary schedules. Any questions from anybody? Anyone?
Javier,
I think Javier has something to say.
you getting something else?
No, not anything.
¿Qué tienes? Nada?
I move we approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion to approve item 4. Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, number 5, approval of minutes for A, April 5th, 2005, regular meeting.
Like to
B,
move the
April
table.
12th, 2005, regular meeting. There's a motion to table it by Commissioner Garza. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wood to table number 5, item A and B. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 6, consideration and possible action. Consideration and possible action regarding the proposed development of solid waste management facility in Cameron County.
Thank you.
We do have some information.
And I'm supposed to read all this before I decide what to do.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
So he gave it to us instead of emailed it to us.
You guys.
This is to let the court know that on June 21st, which is Tuesday of next week, at 9 a.m. at the Texas A&M Citrus Center, the Rio Red Classroom in Westlaco, 312 North International Boulevard, the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council Solid Waste Advisory Committee will be reviewing the application that was submitted by the company for the landfill dump outside of Los Fresnos. The committee will consider the following factors when reviewing the permits and registration applications. It's the conformance to the goals and objectives of the Regional Solid Waste Management Plan and compliance history of the applicant and its owners. They will also look into and make comments on a couple of other items, but we just wanted to let you know, and we will be informing we'll be placing this meeting on the website, as well as calling the local leaders from the community to advise them that if they would like to attend this committee meeting and probably participate in this committee meeting, they should be allowed to, and that this would be the location to do it. As far as I'm aware, this is the first opportunity that this application is being reviewed locally.
So the attachment here, Ramey, is the actual application?
No. I do not believe so. The attachment that's listed is part of
SWAC.
The committee's forms.
Okay, so the actual application's not here.
Let me just do this next.
Not that I'm aware of. We are trying to obtain that
The review
actual
forms.
application from the Lower Grand Valley Development Council to see if they've been provided with that. And also TCEQ to see if we're able to obtain a copy of that so that we can distribute it as needed.
Normally, an application like this that the company supposedly has apparently made to TCEQ, parts 1 and 2 would be about 3 or 4 inches thick, and I understand they've done parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, which ought to be several binders worth of material.
So what we have here is just the review forms for each application.
Yes.
That's what it is.
The review forms by the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council.
Right, I believe this.
Would they have the application? How would they review something they don't have?
We are trying
They're not going to
to.
be able to review it, are they?
Right?
We were trying to obtain that to see if they have it. This was just.
The list of the people on this committee is not attached. If you would be so kind.
That is another piece of information we are trying to obtain as well.
Okay.
I would assume there may be some question as to whether or not they'll be able to get the application as presented to TCEQ, or whether TCEQ is going to want to wait till the application is found to be complete, which they're going through that process now, I think. So I guess SWAC can do whatever they need to do to try to receive whatever is available. Hopefully they'll have as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, we are going to be requesting at this meeting the opportunity for the local municipalities and the county to submit its comments regarding the facility's impact on the general land use of this property. And so we're not sure exactly how much time they're going to give us to prepare those comments, but we will be doing everything we can to make sure that the county's position is, again, on record, opposing the development of this landfill for the reasons that have been stated in previous meetings.
I think it's going to be important for us to be there and the cities to be there. For example, when SWAC review goes through, they're looking for compliance with zoning measures, citing ordinances, and or the land use controls in the vicinity, effect on community growth patterns. And these are things that they're going to need to be able to receive from the local entities that are going to be impacted by the possibility of a permit going in for any area in the county.
Yes, sir.
All the different impact areas.
So it would be wise if some of us made an appearance that day.
If not all.
No, it's Tuesday at 9 in the morning.
That will
Well, we
conflict
don't
with our
have to,
meeting unless
we
we
haven't missed a meeting.
reschedule our meeting.
That's right.
Thank you,
Anything
Commissioners.
else?
At this time, no, we don't have any other information.
Move to acknowledge report.
Second.
There's a motion to acknowledge report by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Mayor France from Hidalgo here. And we've been friends for a long time. You know, I know you're not here as a mayor, right? You're here as an attorney, right? But anyway,
He's not here as your friend, Pete.
But he's still a mayor.
No, he's my friend. He's my friend. We have some good stories. I'll tell you guys later in executive session. I'm just kidding.
We've already been in executive session.
I haven't gone.
What's he need?
Okay,
Did
Pete.
Judge leave again?
No, this is,
Just go on. You don't have to wait. Go on.
Okay, we're gonna skip 7 and 8 and go to 9. Because until the, well, who's here now?
no, he's,
We're on 7, Judge.
What?
Number 7.
Number 7. We're waiting for you.
I had it, can't help.
Number
we're
7.
still in the front page.
Consideration and adoption of an order for the provision of solid waste services. Do you have the order?
Yes.
Proposed order?
Should have it in her packet. If not, I have another one that I can give her.
It was in our
You want to
agenda.
read it?
It was in our agenda.
Just wanna-
No, just make it a part of the record. Has it been made part of the record?
We haven't voted on it.
Yeah,
I move
voted
that
on
we
it.
approve the order
Second.
for the provision of solid waste services. Judge.
Second.
Is there a motion and a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 8, consideration and possible approval of a letter by the county concerning the collection and disposal of residential solid waste in the unincorporated portions of the county. And you've got a copy of that order?
Copy of the letter?
The letter?
Yes, so we will put it on your letterhead
Okay.
if you want
Have
to.
y'all seen it? Any
Yes.
problems with it? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 9, consideration and possible approval of a concession agreement with the Costa Rica Food and Spirit Incorporated and Aguico Properties for LLC for a hotel at Antigua Park.
Judge, the possible concessionaires have asked us to table this for 1 week.
Do I hear a motion?
So
to
moved.
table?
So moved.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Second.
Commissioner Tamayo, second by
May
Commissioner.
I ask a question, even though it's
Yes,
going to
you
be
may.
tabled?
Sure.
Legal is okay with the contract as presented?
Well, that's part of, we
Okay.
decided to do something
That's why
different.
it's being
Okay,
tabled.
well, I just wanted to know, you said concessionaires,
No,
but,
no.
okay.
All those in
Well,
favor?
they too asked.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 9, consideration possible approval of concession agreement with Costa, I'm sorry. 10, consideration and possible adoption of a court order adopting the National Incident Management System, NIMS, as a standard for incident management in the county.
Judge and Commissioners, I guess good afternoon. This is a development of what we already have, which is called the Incident Command System. It's a system that was developed by the federal government and then implemented across state and local departments to manage emergency situations. It provides for chain of command, record keeping, division of tasks, things like that. It basically ensures that when there's an emergency, people play the right roles, documents are retained, and that communication paths don't get crossed. As part of the grants that we receive, we are required to adopt the updated standard of that, which is called the National Incident Management System. So we presented the court with an order that was prepared by the state that they requested for you to adopt, designating NIMS now instead of Incident Command as the incident management system in the county.
So
So
moved.
it's pretty much mandatory.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That was a motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Tamayo. 11, consideration and possible adoption of a schedule of fees relating to fire inspections conducted by Cameron County Fire Marshal.
This item, if you might recall, Commissioners, we brought the State Fire Marshal here a few months ago to talk about a survey they're conducting here in the county. As you all are, I'm sure, aware, they're very short-staffed. and so they've had difficulty in completing that survey. They called us and said, well, could they please not do it? And we told them, we really want the survey because we think it's an important planning document. We think it's something that's important to have in our files. On the other hand, not having the survey, we still are conducting inspections, and so we need to set up some kind of system for the fees for conducting these inspections. So we've gone and talked with the different cities, found out what the cities charge for these inspections, and come up with a proposed schedule of fees to serve in the interim until we either get the report from the state or we can generate data from our own operations that would let us do a study ourselves and set the fee. Because by law, we have to set it at an amount that's less than what we pay out or equal to what we pay out for providing the service.
Let me clarify.
Go ahead.
Let me clarify something. These are the charges that the county would charge if the county does it, but if the state does it, the county doesn't have to do it over.
If the county provides the service, the state does not.
Exactly. All I'm saying is it doesn't, this is not saying that the county is going to do it whether the state does it or not.
No, actually, this is not from the, this is not from the state, this is.
No, I know,
Oh, I'm
Jared,
sorry,
just
Mr.
listen to me. What I want to clarify is that if the state does the inspection, the county is not going to force them to have the county do it. I'm clarifying this because there was a question asked.
No, we won't force anybody to have the inspection done by us.
That's
Let me ask
all
you
the
this.
clarification I want to make.
I have an LPG tank, okay? Before I could get it installed, I had to hire a plumber that was certified. Then after he came and installed it, I had to have it tested by the person that was going to fill the tank up. In this case, it's Federal Petroleum. They charge a fee. The plumber charged a fee for installing and making sure that it didn't leak, I guess. Then Federal Petroleum charged me another fee because they came and they had to test it before they would install it. Now, is the county going to do that type of testing? Is that what you're telling me?
That's what this is. I think and I don't know what Federal Petroleum charged you for, but probably they brought a person who was a licensed inspector, because those tanks do have to be
Right.
inspected. And so that's what they charge you for, is the service of that.
Well,
inspection.
and I appreciated being tested before I put it in.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm not going to have a recurrent fee,
No.
because you guys are going to say, you know what, that tank over there looks like it's not newly painted. Maybe I ought to go inspect it,
But our Commissioner and our goal is
This
not
is a
to-
service.
It's a service when people
to the
request it.
county.
It's not, we're not going out trolling around the county trying to find places that have problems.
Well-
Obviously, if there's a safety hazard that we become aware of, we'll take action.
We hope you do.
Generally, we respond to the requests of citizens. In fact, and we talked about this before, that's the whole reason.
It's a
why we created
service
this
to the
department,
county.
as a service to the
So like we have a gentleman in the audience here, Mr. Gonzalez, with fireworks stands. If he's inspected by the state and he gets permitted, he doesn't need to request another permit from you.
If the state's already inspected him, no. We don't have.
That's a
So it's not like
clarification I
a
was
double
making.
permit.
Now, we could inspect
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
in this county, we don't have regulations regarding fireworks. So the state has regulations, and the inspection can be done by the state fire marshal or by the
Or
county fire marshal.
like, you could go inspect my LPG tank
Yes. I couldn't, but the inspector could,
and charge me for that?
if you requested it.
Oh, no, without the request.
Oh, no.
No,
These,
he's only
these,
gonna do it
these,
if you're
Okay, well-
requested.
these are only when you request it.
What I want to clarify.
Yeah,
The-
if somebody, if, for instance, if there's a report that say there's a place that's dangerous, say your tank, a restaurant, whatever it is, we get a report. The inspector will go over there and inspect it. They do not charge the person for inspecting it based on that report. They inspect it based on public safety. However, if you want an inspection from us to call, you have a business and
You're
to
gonna
open it,
pay.
you need an inspection, then there's a fee.
Or if I think that the tank leaks or something and you go inspect it.
It's not an every
This
year
is-
fee, no?
What we're talking
No.
about is this is a
Unless it's a new
request.
business.
These are fees that are going to be charged on a request for inspection by the person who's responsible for whatever it is
That's
they're
right,
inspecting.
that's right.
So if the gentleman there happens to own a restaurant or something and he's got an LPG tank and he wants us to inspect it, he's going to call us and do it. And we're going to
Exactly.
go out and we're going to
Exactly.
charge him.
And actually, this is, like we said, it's a service for the county, because before we had this, I had people with daycare centers and
That's
so
what-
on
that's what I was gonna bring up,
saying
yeah.
that the state took forever to go.
To do their
So to
inspection.
clarify and bring closure to this,
Wanna do it quick,
if
yeah.
the state does it, the county is not going to be requesting that it be done. It'll only be when they request it. But I do think this is a service that'll be very beneficial because of the fact that the state, I guess, has a backlog. Because I had people calling me that they'd called the state before we had this service, and they'd have to wait 3 more months, 4 months, and they were in jeopardy of losing their license because of that.
Well, let me ask you, I know you're well-informed, and we believe you know everything about everything in the world, Jared, but I would like to hear from our new fire marshal, or former Chief Lucio, about what he just now said. Is that the way you see this?
You say an area that the county should have pursued upon that. Commissioner Tamayo, I used to be an inspector for the city of Harlingen, and there's problems with these nursing homes and daycare homes that are in the county. They need inspection. Sometimes the cities cannot afford to go up there and do it right away for them because they don't have the jurisdiction outside their city.
So these charges would only come into play when we're asked to come in and do an inspection. That's it.
These people have to be inspected once a year.
They request the inspection, we don't just show up. They request it.
So this address your concern, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, well, that's what's my concern is that
You were gonna get double billed.
Yes.
Double inspected, double billed.
So that's not what he's talking about.
as long as they disclose, that the county fire marshal don't go and inspect my fireworks, then before I open up, and all I have to do is show you the license, that's what the state fire marshal do, and then they're gonna write me a ticket for $50, or if they don't go, I cannot open my stand until he goes.
No, that's not.
But that's not the intent.
No. They will only go if you request it. And you're not gonna request it because you say that the state checks you, so you don't have a problem.
Yeah. And the only reason we would go is that there was a report, but we all know Mr. Gonzalez, how he runs his stands very well. We've known it for a long time. I can't ever imagine a situation where he would have a problem that, we would have to go over there and that it's dangerous or something like that. So it would really only be if you request.
So to answer your concern, you're not gonna have to be paying the state and the county.
What I want to know, that if you want to open a fire stand and the state is taking too long, can you call the city and will the state honor?
The county.
I mean, the county, and the state honor the permit that you got? If you can't wait because the state is not coming and you don't have a permit for that specific stand, can you call the county and the county will give you a permit, inspect it and give you a permit, charge you $50? Will the state come in and say, hey, well, you already got it, I don't have to, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think he'll be calling the county. Just let him do
He
his.
deals with the state.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
he deals with the state, Pete.
I just know for his own information.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
It's okay,
Jerry.
Mr. Gonzalez.
And I'm assuming on the first item, daycare / that should be
Foster, I
home?
think that's a typographical error, I apologize.
Just checking. I was wondering what kind of homes we had for a minute, and I figured it was typo.
You thought that was the name of the home.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the fee
So
schedule?
moved.
By Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Outspoken motion carried. Let me move to skip up to another item.
Judge, I just want to interject that I would like to welcome, Chief Lucio to the county. I had not had the opportunity to visit with him. An email from somebody in the department, would have been nice, especially when we get new key personnel. I think that somebody ought to let us know.
Okay.
Thank you.
The judge said okay.
Or a phone
He just
call.
started like 2 weeks ago, no?
That's a
Okay.
long time ago.
I'm like Mark.
I wonder
have
where
a
you were
meeting.
here.
3 weeks
Nobody
ago.
told
I was
me
gone
anything.
most of last week, so.
Number 13.
All right, no, we're gonna move to item, in the supplemental item.
Oh, okay.
Yvette wants us to do item number 4, consideration possible action regarding status of the Cameron County Indigent Healthcare Program.
And Mark is here.
Mark's here too, on that issue.
Number 4,
So you can,
indigent healthcare.
indigent healthcare.
Supplemental.
Judge, I'll start with I asked this item, I've initiated this item being placed on the agenda, and I know that both of these individuals will be able to answer the questions that are being addressed. Essentially, this stems from a letter that was produced by the auditor, and I think ultimately distributed by the Department of Health, informing the local medical providers that there was the indigent healthcare program had essentially run out of funds and that it was going to be shutting down. And in the past, the Commissioners Court, upon hearing this type of information, has initiated plans of action to ensure that the program continues to run and provide the basic services, which I think the auditor was attempting to accomplish in the same by the letter. But I thought it was important that the Commissioners Court be informed of the status of the indigent healthcare program so that any action can be taken could be done so through the court.
Okay.
I told the indigent.
Yes.
No le tenga miedo al micrófono, no muerde.
Actually, the financial part of the indigent healthcare program is handled by Mark, and the eligibility part is handled by our department. So if you have some financial questions, then probably Mark can spit those numbers off the top of his head. But as you all probably know, our indigent healthcare program, our funds have pretty much been exhausted. There is some limited funds that we currently have, but they're not probably going to get us through the next 3 months. I know in talking with Mark, we conference called the state, and it appears that there probably won't be any more funds given to Cameron County, but we're just taking this, you know.
What do you mean? We're not. There's no more 95.5 funds. No more of the 95.
The funds.
5 matching funds.
90-10.
90-10. I'm sorry. 90-10 funds.
The state still has some funds, but they have reserved some of those funds for other counties who have not met their 8%. So that's why we're just taking it, you know, month by month to see what it is that the state may provide to Cameron County. They've already told us, both Mark and myself, that it appears that they're not going to give any more funds to Cameron County.
Well, what? I mean, we can't afford to. If we're not going to get reimbursed on a 90-10 fund for any further healthcare services, how can we afford to spend any more money on this?
We don't have the money to spend.
We're not going to get. In other words, you know, if we've got the ability to get you know $9 for every $10 that we spend, then it doesn't make any sense not to go after that $9 that the state provides. But if we're not going to even get that, then why are we going to spend?
And I think that's the reason Mark sent the letter out that he sent out advising our gatekeepers that the funds may dry up real soon and there won't be any other funds. But
We do want to have in-house a number of unpaid bills that we did not have the resources to satisfy. You know, and I looked at the roster of who we served, about 1,300 clients. At that time, it was about $3.2 million. We roughly spent $2,800 on each person on average, some high and some very low. And so we called Jen Mayberry, I believe that's her name. Mm-hmm. And the $5.1 million that's allocated to by the state for indigent health care for the 90-10 money is spread out amongst a number of counties. We were allocated $1.1 million. So on top of our $2.2 million which is our local funds, we refer to as the 8% level. We had met the 8% level. We came before Commissioners Court and said, okay, can we spend the additional $1 million? And so at the months subsequent to that, we had spent a good portion of the $1 million. I called Jen Mayberry. She provided an additional $290,000 to us to handle certain ongoing events, but she had notified us that we're limited by a 35% allocation of the total funds. That would have provided us with another $600,000 if the funds were available. But she said the funds are not available, that the counties that have reached the 8% that have not drawn on it yet have reached it quicker, and she did not feel like she could allocate any additional funds to the county. Based on
So
that,
bottom line, we're out of money.
We're out of
well,
money.
based on that, I called a meeting with the health department, Dr. Victor Gonzalez, because I wanted to advise them of where we were, get their advice on really what spurred a greater use, a faster use. And the health department's put together a little information on that, because we're seeing greater numbers. And I think that other programs are drying up, or in and the eligibility for ours has increased. For a period of time, we were not allowing clients without Social Security numbers to access our program. But after that, we were told that you have to allow undocumenteds into your program, and undocumenteds don't always have Social Security numbers. So we have an identifier number available for them. But all of these things accelerate the use of money. We've spent in this program $3.7 million approximately in providing indigent health care, and probably 17,000 different entries, transactions, in round numbers. But the other key issue is next year's allocation, we're going to be limited to 20% of the state indigent funds. Not 35, but 20%. So the state's contribution to the county is going to be even less than it was this year. We approached the Health Services District Board and said, you have our tobacco fund distribution in accordance to our agreements. Would you consider using some of those funds back for the provision of indigent health care? And I believe you received a letter from former Mayor Card, our representative, saying that he doesn't believe there's a mechanism for that. That's what we know at this stage.
Well, if we don't get it 90-10, it's not worth it.
Well, let me ask you
I approached Senator Lucio's representative, her name is Kate Volte, to provide her information. I have information to give her. I've kind of sidetracked for this week on certain other issues. I really wanted to work on the indigent health care because that's the foremost #1 problem for us at this stage. But I haven't been able to get the information because of other demands in my office.
Mark, has the 3.7 that you mentioned and the numbers I put here add up to that amount, has that already been expended, or has most of it been, I know most of it's been expended?
I would say about 99.9% of it has been
Okay,
expended.
so, and what else do we have that hasn't been paid for? Is that balance of what is unspent going to take care of that?
No,
Are we out of
it's not.
funds today? Then we really don't have any more funds for indigent health care at this point in time.
That is correct.
Well, what does that mean, though? I mean, if there's outstanding bills out there for indigent health care that's been provided, are we responsible for those bills?
Our indigent health care program is an assistance program. If you qualify and we have funds, we pay. And that's why I wanted to put the notice out.
So we don't, but we're not, but let me ask you, but as I understand the way it works, is that when an indigent person goes to to a hospital or to a doctor, or is given a referral by one of the gatekeepers, then our auditor's office, does they get called and clear whether or not this person qualifies, right?
Well, they go with.
Or somebody
an
gets called,
authorization.
your people or his people?
They get an authorization. We used to request authorizations, but even if they cut, and we don't require authorizations anymore, because even if we give authorization, and we don't want to give authorization because that's somewhat saying we're going to pay for it. People are sent with regards, we don't know how much a doctor is going to charge. When you go to the doctor, you don't know how much your bill is going to be. And if we're giving authorizations, we're somewhat saying, hey, we're going to pay for this. We're just saying that they're eligible in our program, and as long as we have funds, we'll pay at Medicaid rates.
So are you telling us then that, because I've heard that there's like $1 million of unpaid indigent health care claims out there. Are you saying that once our money runs out, even though these are people who qualified and they check to see whether they qualified, that once our money runs out, that we don't have to pay that money to those hospitals and doctors?
I think that's something for your attorneys to make that decision.
Well, wait a minute.
I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, the only way that you can pay this is to either dip into next year's funds, which I don't advise, or to draw down your fund balance. But, and we always stipulate that this is an assistance program, and it's available as long as we have assistance.
Well, but I mean, this troubles me a little bit because I don't think that's the way I thought it worked. As I've always understood is that it's always been clear that we only pay providers of health care if we have money available, and that they are aware of that, so that when a phone call is made by Valley Baptist Hospital to your office or to Yvette's office, and they clear that person, then they expect payment, and that at some point we're gonna pay them, or they don't expect payment, and they understand that they're not gonna get paid if there's not any resources, and that we have a clear understanding of what that is. I don't wanna be in a situation where the county's getting a claim from Valley Baptist for a $50,000 bill that wasn't paid on an individual that we went ahead and approved. I mean, we don't know the answer to that?
Well, we have a maximum that we pay out per patient.
Whatever it is,
Whatever
there's $1 million worth of claims out there that are sitting in the auditor's office that we don't have money to pay out on, as I understand.
That's correct, and these, I'm not saying it's a million, I don't know where.
Well, that's the number I was given.
Who gave it to you?
I was told the number by the executive records, based on the meeting that you had on Friday, that you had $64,000 in the bank,
Right.
$1 million worth of claims to pay.
I don't believe I represented to her exactly how much we had. And
But this is not anything different than we've had.
No.
At least for the last 4 years,
Well,
5
yes,
years
yeah.
that I've been here.
Yes,
this
it is
happened
different.
in 2001.
Yeah, and this happened even before in the 90s.
It is different, David. Let me tell you why it's different. This is the first year that I've ever been, unless I don't remember, unless it happened before and it didn't appear in my radar screen, but this is the first year where Cameron County didn't receive any 90-10 funds.
Well, we
Sir,
received some.
We did receive them.
But we're not receiving everyone we need.
Okay, well, so we've already used those 90-10 funds, and there's no more 90-10 funds available. So then,
That's correct.
so we've been in situations before where there's been outstanding unpaid claims made on the indigent healthcare program
Yes.
that we don't pay.
Yes.
There has been situations on the, yes.
Yes.
It happened in 2001.
So how
Even us didn't get paid.
in, two,
Providers.
in 2001, a lot of healthcare providers didn't get paid.
Based on what I understand, and I haven't read the statute within the last week because of other reasons, but once the state runs out of funds, once they run out of funds to allocate to the county, our program is over. Is that your understanding?
Yes, the only thing that Cameron County is obligated to expend is the 8%. After that, even if there's bills outstanding, then the financial responsibility falls on the individual who received the services from the medical provider.
Even though we cleared them through the provider when the provider called?
Even though they're eligible on the program, even
Though we cleared it?
that.
Well, you
That-
don't
The only-
clear them if the
my
money's not
understanding is
there.
We're only financially responsible for the 8%.
That's it. We've gone above and beyond the 8% because we put in
Another
100,000. You know.
I understand that. I just don't remember situations where we ended the fiscal year and people didn't get paid.
That happened in 2001. I believe it happened in
I'm
1990.
glad that we're not responsible, but I just want to make sure. I mean, this is when I'm told there's $1
Providers
million
know that.
outstanding bill. That's a lot of bucks, you know.
You know,
And I don't know what.
when it
healthcare-
happened in 2001, we were able to finish the year with paying the gatekeepers and some pharmaceuticals and those who were using oncology services. But essentially, we told the hospitals, we're not paying you. And we felt bad about this. And you know, well, keep in mind, if we don't have providers, we don't have a program. And if we don't pay the providers, we don't have providers. They don't do it for free.
Okay.
And as we've had in an executive session meeting with regards to Dr. Raul Garza, the amounts that we pay are not significant. And so, you know, at $28.95, and I'm using that number as an approximation, the number of clients we serve is a lot. And so when you go through $3.7 million at a number of transactions, you know, we produced a lot of transactions, approximately 17,000 transactions.
Okay. All right.
Judge, Commissioners, what we can do is get together with legal and provide them with the information that we have regarding the statutes, and they can...
May I ask, what do you tell a person that comes in with an application, or a person, did they each receive something in the mail saying we're out of funds, you will no longer qualify? I mean, what do we do?
When the county officially shuts down...
Well,
then-
officially, the county shut down the 1st of this month, according to many people I've seen out, okay? Did they receive a letter saying, as of this date, the county will no longer be providing medical services because money has been expended for the year? Has any of that occurred? Did you do a mail out? I mean,
We did a mail out with the vendors.
no.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Are you
the
talking about the-
individuals. Because the one that gets impacted the most is that individual that needs the health care. Yeah, they have a listing of clients. Everybody is determined eligible or ineligible. On a monthly basis, they know how many people are eligible, you know?
We have not stopped the eligibility process until the county
You're still
officially-
taking applications and